What's going on, everybody? JV Wins, Dogon SS. We are back for another video. Thanks for checking us out. As always, man, happy to be here to record more content for this lovely YouTube channel of ours, where we get to kick the tires and light the fires, talking about some interesting topics going on the world over. So we thank everybody for checking us out, for hitting all of those relevant buttons and subscribing to the podcast and all of that good stuff. And if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to follow suit with the same actions, man. We certainly appreciate it. We're downloadable on Amazon Music, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we are certainly viewable here as well as on TikTok and Instagram whenever we do upload channels there at Con Approach. CONAPPROACH. So yeah, man, check your boys out, man. Labor of love, man. We just like getting on here and giving our 2 cents about what's going on in the world around us. So major shouts out to everybody who has found enough value in the content that we deliver to subscribe to the channel, because we certainly appreciate it. Now, I can't wait to hear what Dogon has to say about a few of these topics. This will be the first one that we get into, discussing Kid Cudi. Was never really a big Kid Cudi guy, but Kid Cudi's in our generation. Kid Cudi's on tour currently, and one of the artists that was also on tour with him up until like a day ago was not young, but M.I.A. M.I.A. has been booted by Kid Cudi off of Kid Cudi's tour because she was, according to his fan base, being offensive. There's a bit of a discrepancy in terms of what she actually said, because what people are alleging she said, well, part of what people are alleging she said, there appears to be no video of. There's only videos of parts of what she said. But be that as it may, Kid Cudi is claiming that fans of his became outraged and messaged him that what she was saying was offensive. He's not going to tolerate that. So she's been booted off the tour. And apparently she's been booted off the tour for going on, quote, Republican rants. That's kind of what social media has characterized what she said as Republican rants. So Kid Cudi booted her. M.I.A. is no longer on tour with Kid Cudi. She's been kicked off. And let me see. So we'll go ahead and provide a little background for anybody who might need to be brought up to speed on this situation. So this says Kid Cudi removes M.I.A. from tour after apparent rants mid-concert. Didn't want anything offensive. Kid Cudi has removed M.I.A. as a support act from his Rebel Rangers tour after she allegedly repeatedly went on bizarre rants during her performances. In a post shared to his Instagram stories, Cudi announced that M.I.A. would not be joining him on the remaining dates of the tour. M.I.A. is no longer on this tour. I told my management to send a notice to her team before we started tour that I didn't want anything offensive at my shows, because I already knew what time it was, and I was assured things were understood. Despite informing her team that he didn't want anything offensive at his shows, she apparently persisted. After the last couple shows, I've been flooded with messages from fans that were upset by her rants. This to me is very disappointing, and I won't have someone on my tour making offensive remarks that upsets my fan base. Thank you for understanding. So here is more. Here is his actual Instagram story here. M.I.A. had previously been interacting with fans and expressing excitement for various shows of the tour. Several fleeting videos taken during her recent performances were presented on social media as showing her referring to fans in the audience as illegal, but M.I.A. has since disputed this. I wrote Illy Girl on the M.I.A. LP, a song from 2010. I started this intro to the song with the statement saying, I'm illegal, and I said my team hasn't gotten visas yet. Then played a song that had lyrics saying F the law, which I still believe. If the law is unjust, F it. Do not gaslight my words. That is the work of Satan. She went on to say that she wrote that song before others thought immigrant rights were cool, arguing that this virtue signal era is attempting to erase her life. Jesus was an immigrant and a rebel. She added, I have no apology for the judgmental, the wicked, and the ignorant, for those are spirits that we must overcome in our lives and in this world. Jesus returns to lead the world justly because there is injustice in this world. I'm proud of those who fight for it every day. God bless you. Multiple tweets after the Dallas stop on the tour indicated that M.I.A went on political rants during her set, with one user claiming that she told the audience she's a Republican and was booed. Those particular remarks did not appear to have been captured in footage shared to social media, however, and were instead reported by fans in attendance. So here's one such tweet here. This coming from somebody named got the M hip hop. I think you say that. Gotham hip hop. So there's somebody here from on Twitter named Gotham Hip Hop who said M.I.A has been removed from Kid Cudi's tour after going on strange Republican rants and calling people in the audience after calling people in the audience illegal. The tour only kicked off last month, with M.I.A making it just 4 shows through until she was kicked off the lineup. Cudi was scheduled to bring the tour to Birmingham, Alabama on May 5th, but the date has since been canceled. In another update on his Instagram stories, Cudi addressed the cancellation, so that's not really that important. M.I.A has a history of making statements that have left her fans scratching their heads. Amid the CV pandemic in 2020, M.I.A indicated that she would choose death over a vaccine against the coronavirus. In 2024, she also launched her streetwear brand, Omi, with a tinfoil hat that she purported was capable of blocking Wi-Fi, 4G, and 5G signals from entering the body. So we got people on Twitter claiming that she went on a weird Republican rant and called people in the audience illegal. However, for the most part, the only thing that's been really captured on video is this little piece here. So we'll go ahead and play this little clip, and then we'll, dive into how we see this situation afterwards.
All right, I'm illegal. Half of my team are not here because they didn't get the visa. Okay, I want you to know that. All right, so don't listen to what the bots say on the internet. Okay, once you are there, you always. We should be above politics.
All right, so you pretty much get the point there. That's the video where she's like, I'm illegal, and I'm pretty sure there's people in the crowd who are illegal. And so from that, we get her going on Republican rants and offending people, and Kid Cudi booting her off the tour. So, what do you make of M.I.A getting booted by Kid Cudi for being offensive?
So when they say she's going on a Republican rants, they're saying that she's going on a rant about Republicans, or she's giving a rant within a Republican tone.
The second one, I would imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And M.I.A, first of all, which is what I thought, but M.I.A is, she's who she is. She's the article brought up what she was saying about the C-19 and the tinfoil hats for sale. I'm sure that was a tongue-in-cheek situation where she wasn't really selling tinfoil hats that's supposed to block 5G and all that stuff. So she has her way about getting her message through without being explicit about it. So by her saying that she's a illy girl, for instance, or illy gal, which is a nice play on words, she's not a one-dimensional person. So I'm sure the things that she was saying it was for sure scratching the surface of political talk. But I think that in a room full of people that just want to have a good time, we're dealing with Kid Cudi fans here. And no offense if you're a Kid Cudi fan, but if you're going to a Kid Cudi concert, you know, I can pretty much surmise that you're not too much interested in politics, at least when you decide to go there. Because as far as I'm concerned, Kid Cudi doesn't dabble in the realm of social political stuff. I think he pretty much is, you know, a free thinking, free spirited kind of guy, laid back. So the crowd is pretty much laid back and free spirited themselves. M.I.A, who's a free spirit, she's a more, what do you want to call it? Activist type of free spirit, where yeah, she's in the free spirit realm, but she's also talking about things that she believes in, and she talks about that loudly. So I think what she was doing was kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago with DJ Academics was talking about with Kendrick Lamar, is that you're messing up the party. We came here to vibe, you know what I'm saying, smoke out, leave our worries behind. We didn't come here for a political stance. And I don't want to be lectured to telling me that I need to be paying attention to politics. That's pretty much probably what they were complaining about. I don't think it had anything to do of whether she was far left or far right. I think it was more in the sense of you're ruining my vibes. You're being a buzzkill. You're talking about real social issues, and I didn't come here for that. So Kid Cudi expressing his disappointment and stuff like that, that's akin to the Mary J. Blige topic that we talked about, where when you're offending the fans, you're offending me. So I have to back up my fans by saying what she was doing was unacceptable. But I'm sure they shook hands and talked behind closed doors before, where he knows the type of person that she is. So I don't think he brought her along on tour simply because she's some type of headliner that's going to bring people in. I think that they may have had an understanding before, but they just go about their careers and their lives differently. So I don't think that whatever she was doing was surprising him. I think that the feedback is what caused this. So his fans weren't down for all of that stuff. So all of this makes sense to me from this view and this lens. But what are your thoughts, man, on M.I.A going on alleged Republican rants? Okay, and then getting kicked off tour with Kid Cudi. What are your thoughts, man?
I'm not mad at Kid Cudi. You can't mess up the bag. You know, if Kid Cudi is receiving feedback that she's no longer welcome on this, obviously that poses a direct problem and a direct risk to his bottom line overall. And so you got to do what you got to do. So I'm not here to criticize Kid Cudi for making that decision. I'm not. That is a basic decision that I think most people in his position would have made, because people will stop coming. Word gets around, things spread instantaneously, especially now on the internet, on these apps. Word's going to get around and there'll be crickets and low ticket sales. And next thing you know, you're having to figure out the best way to pivot in order to make this thing profitable. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you can foresee that potentially being a result of her presence there, then you have to act accordingly. But the main issue that I have with this is the way that her alleged rants are being framed. You know, they're being framed as Republican rants. Now, again, you know, from what we can tell, she's just talked about people could be illegal in the audience, and then she categorized herself as an illegal using a song that she made going all the way back in 2010. Now, to your point, perhaps the audience isn't there for that, and so they don't necessarily want to hear it. And if they start to boo, then you can't do it. And if you persist, now we have an issue. Mm-hmm. But something tells me that if she were being even remotely socio-political, but within the framework of saying things that people in the crowd agreed with, she wouldn't be getting booed. So I don't necessarily think in a vacuum it's that she was being any sort of political at all. I think it's because of the type of politics that she is perceived to have been engaging in while going on these supposed rants. Because I do think that if she was at that show saying F Trump, for example, I don't think she'd be getting booed. I don't think she'd be getting booed if she was protesting the war in Iran. I don't think I just don't. My suspicion tells me that if she was there doing that, she wouldn't be getting booed. But because she was ambiguously touching on, immigrants and their respective rights, that is currently a hot button issue. She's not really saying one way or the other where she is on those things, but she has been staunchly conservative via her public statements in the past. People are going to connect those two dots and then assume that she's being the same way now and start booing, and now you have an issue. So I don't really think that her being perceivably political is the issue. I think it's the stance that she is perceived to be taking, which is the biggest issue that I have with it. The fact that there are certain people online who are immediately defaulting to coding this as going on Republican rants. I think that you need to be more fair to whatever it is that she may have said, allegedly, because again, we don't have concrete video of everything being said. But currently, right now, it is open season. Where's the beef publicly on people who are outspokenly conservative at times? You just, unfortunately, man, it's not fair. I'm not suggesting that it's right or wrong. I'm just stating it for what it is. You are taking a risk when you are outspokenly conservative these days. And even if you are a moderate or somebody who's reasonable, but you even lend voice to being someone who's more to the right, you're taking a gamble because people are going to connect your stance to various other extreme elements and attach you to it. And now you have a problem. And when you're an entertainer who's trying to make money and not necessarily appeal to one side or the other, but just to be out here making music and entertaining people, you can't run the risk of doing that because you're compromising yourself. So given everything that I know and given everything that I read, do I think that what happened to her was fair? No. Do I understand it? Yes. Do I also understand the decision that Kid Cudi made? Yes. This is the cost of doing business when you decide to be somebody who is outspokenly conservative, whether you are an extremist or not. These days, you just can't do it because it really does cost you. And it is in an equitable type of environment, because if you do engage in that type of behavior on the other side, you will be protected and perhaps even make money. So in a world that's just and fair and equitable, as long as you're not being an extremist, anything should be welcome. But currently, because of the way things are in this climate that we live in, there's really one side that's allowed to persist, and the other side largely gets drowned out. And she happens to be on the side that, for the most part, tends to get drowned out.
Yeah, and I looked this up on Variety because they're also talking about it. Everybody's talking about this. So she said that she's a brown Republican voter. I don't know what that means. Okay.
I know what that means.
I mean, I know what it means too, but yeah. I don't know why you need to tell me that. I feel like people in the Kid Cudi crowd now. And then she said that she can't do the Illy Girl song because some of you in the audience may be illegal. So I'm not too sure where her angle was there, but then that's when the people was like, hey man, what are you talking about? So I don't know what her angle is. She can explain away, but in that moment, I can see why people are confused and will start to boo her, because let's say that they do have ties to illegalities. It may not be them, but people that they love, or they're just a humanitarian that don't like what's going on with certain things going on. And the current administration and what they're doing to push this thing about illegals, if she's bringing this to the thing and hollering that I am a voter of the current administration, and I'm not going to perform this song that I made in 2011 because 2010 because some of y'all might be in this audience, I can see how that does rub people the wrong way. That's to me, if that's what she said, and all of this is alleged. That audio I heard was a bit grainy. I was a little grassy knollish, but nevertheless, if these are the reports that are coming from the fans, that doesn't serve its place at a Kid Cudi concert. Because Kid Cudi, as far as I'm concerned, again, he kind of plays the background. I don't know him as a social or political guy. I just take him as a feel good guy.
I would imagine that he's more on the left.
Yeah,
just taking a while again. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
Yeah, and if she said this at a Kid Rock concert, everybody would have been like, hell yeah,
with a Bud Light in her hand.
With a Bud Light. They would have been like, hell yeah, you know what I'm saying? And they would have cracked open cold ones after that. But after this, they immediately got on their phones and started DMing Kid Cudi that, you got a girl out here that is misrepresenting your brand. So I hear your point where it comes to if she was saying something political and it was favorable, then that it wouldn't be this cancelization effort. But, just looking at what she's saying here, you also have to weigh into account, the sensitivity of the topic she's talking about. And you're allowed to be conservative. I hear your point. You're allowed to be conservative, but only behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And but you can be anything else out loud, and that's not condemned. But the figureheads that are associated with the current administration doesn't make it easy to claim that you're a conservative person.
And that's the issue is we just so happen to be living in a current climate where it doesn't behoove you to do it because you'll be connected to extremism. Yes. Even if you're not an extremist. So I totally get that. And like I said, I totally get Kid Cudi's decision. And I totally get people who feel some type of way if that is what she said. Mm-hmm. My issue is with the way these things play out media wise.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the only thing that I'm going after. Because if she says like, I understand why people would be offended by that if that's what she said. But the knee-jerk reaction to categorize it as a Republican rant to me is that to me is something that I think is a bit weird because
I hear you.
Because like she's one individual unto herself, but most reasonable people who would identify as voting that way, most of them don't think like that. Like most reasonable people are somewhere in the middle, whether you're middle left or middle right. My point in saying that is not everybody is an extremist. That's my point.
Yeah.
And so when you bucket extremist rhetoric underneath the umbrella of a general political, registration, if you will, in terms of the way that you are registered to vote, that doesn't by default make you an extremist or make you somebody who's prone to going on quote unquote rants. So that's my only issue is the way it's framed in the media. And she's not the first case study of this. There's other use cases of that kind of thing happening where because of this current situation with the current administration and all of that good stuff, those dots get connected. And then that person is spoken about disparagingly. Now, is M.I.A. being spoken about disparagingly? Perhaps not. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. I don't know. But the fact that that's the way it's being coded online, to me, is something that I think is a bit unreasonable. But that's the thing that I'm going at here is how that plays out that way. But from a business standpoint and from a money making standpoint, from the standpoint of I can't be associated with anything that's going to compromise my ability to make money or continue to appeal to people who have followed along with me and been fans of me, I totally get the move. I really do. But calling what she did a Republican rant to me is weird, because if somebody gets on stage hollering about, how much they love, people being able to, use the bathroom in whatever gender bathroom they want, are we going to go? Is someone going to get on social media and say that she went on a Democrat rant? Like, I don't think anybody's going to say that. I can't even imagine, unless it's some far right weird, element where it's like, these are people who are clearly crazy. No one really listens to them. But, there's no reasonable media outlet or reasonable people online who are going to leap to calling something like that going on a Democratic rant. So that's the only part about it that I think is odd. But other than that, I get where everybody's coming from. It is what it is. But I do stick to my original statement that it can be costly, and it's just not prudent of anybody these days to be publicly conservative. You just can't do it. You're running the risk of compromising everything that you've worked to earn, which is a shame, but such is life right now.
Yeah, and it is a shift that we're, first of all, that I was raised in. It's just gotten more aggressive over the years, I would say, with social media and all forms of media, all converging in one direction. But yeah, these types of things have been, these types of talking points were introduced to me in curriculum in elementary school. More liberal ways of viewing the world, liberal ways of raising your kids, liberal philosophies, liberal philosophers. Never anything conservative, and even then, conservatism was pretty much associated with Confederate flags. And if you were a liberal, then you understood Black plight, and you understood women suffering and all that other stuff. So it was noble to be liberal. So, and that rhetoric was going on since I was in elementary school, and it's only escalated and got more sophisticated to the point to where now the villainization of being a conservative person is now associated with the Orange Man and his reign.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and so you can't say that you're against certain things. They don't give you a bucket to rest. It's either you're one or the other. Life is more nuanced than a two-party system, and people think in more of a nuanced way than a two-party system. So you're left with either one or two choices, which is horrendous if you ask me. And then so naturally, people that don't want to go along to get along with social things that they don't agree with, they naturally would have to be a conservative or considered conservative by the binary system they created.
Yeah.
And then you choose like, okay, well, I'm gonna just get over here with people that want things to be as they were. And then the figureheads over there are operating like extremists. So then you have no safe haven. You really don't agree with those people doing on that side. And then the people that you're forced to be associated with, you really don't agree with them. So then there is a shame. There's a natural shame of saying that I'm conservative, because you're automatically associated and labeled by the same system that I was telling you that was already in full swing by the time I was in elementary school. So this goes on for years, man. And so the media spinning it the way that they're spinning it, calling it a Republican rant, makes it sound like, yeah, man, she was, doing the devil's work.
Yeah, she was being the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So bad choice of words for her. If this is what she really said, calling herself a brown Republican voter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to perform illegal because some of y'all in the audience. That's horrible. That's horrible choice of words.
Yeah.
So your public relations, your what do you call it? Your publicist. Like you're gonna have to know how to operate, and this goes beyond a Kid Cudi concert. To a degree, you just got to know your context. You got to know where you're at. So
you just
if Kid Rock invited you,
yeah.
If this is a Kid Rock thing,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
man. So you got to know your place and where you're at, man. And and my original point stands of knowing the room and knowing your environment. This is a Kid Cudi concert. They didn't come here for politics one way or another for the most part. So just vibe out and do your feel good songs. So
yeah, I feel that, but again, it all depends on the position that you're taking. Like, again, did Kid Cudi's audience come? This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. Did Kid Cudi's audience come to get any sort of lecture on anything politics or socio-political or geopolitical? No, they did not. Yeah. But if she would have stood up on stage and said, "I think this war sucks," they would have cheered. Now, I'm not trying. It does. I agree. It does suck, but
I hear you.
But the cheering would have come from the fact that there's so much angst and animosity towards the administration. They're viewed as the Gestapo. And so when you say something against the Gestapo, that's political in nature. Regardless, you're going to get heralded. So in a vacuum, I don't think people don't have the stomach for anything political. They just don't have the stomach for anything political that they don't agree with.
Fair enough.
So in saying that, I do believe Kid Cudi's audience has some sort of a political leaning, because if they didn't, they would have had no reaction either way.
That's fair as well.
But either way, I do get your point. And again, I'm not defending her. I'm really not defending her. Those are poor choices of words. And if people really did feel some type of way, she's got to go. So I'm not tripping off of her. What I'm focusing on is the way that it's being framed on the internet, which is she went on a Republican rant. It couldn't just be that she went on a weird rant or a political rant or an extremist rant. She went on a Republican rant. And I think that that's a very carefully chosen choice of word, because these days, in this day and age, you use anything Republican / conservative to denote something wrong. So that's the only thing that I'm harping on. And I just make the observation because I find that interesting that it doesn't work the other way around. But otherwise, it is what it is, man. When you make people mad like that, you're not going to cost me money, so you got to go. So I get where Kid Cudi would make that decision. I do.
Yeah, man, I feel you, bro. So, hey, shout out to my brown Republican voters. Shout out to my illegals. Shout out to Kid Cudi and his fans, man. To me, I think that everybody needs to lighten up. So I think everybody in the crowd, I think she needs to lighten up, and I think people just need to take it easy, man. People are allowed to have their opinions, I guess, but not in this world, I guess, either. So, but shout out to everybody on this one, man. I'm not throwing stones in any direction.
Yeah, me neither. Except for that one guy on Twitter. That's you know what you're doing when you call it that. And now we move on to Reginae Carter, the daughter of Lil Wayne. She was on a podcast with Nas's daughter, and they were talking about, an assortment of topics. And one of the things that kind of went viral was her talking about her experience with private schools and the fact that she believes that she was denied private school due to the lyrics of her dad. She is standing firm on business that because of her dad, Lil Wayne's music, there were private schools that denied her access to being a student at the school because I guess they figured they didn't want they didn't want to be associated in any capacity with, Lil Wayne lyrics. So this says Reginae Carter says Lil Wayne's lyrics got her denied from private school. Reginae Carter says she was rejected from private schools in Atlanta due to the content of her father, Lil Wayne's lyrics. During an episode of her Airtime podcast that featured Nas's daughter, Destiny Jones, Carter opened up about her school experiences and brought up the fact that she got denied from some institutions. I went to Christian school almost my whole life. A lot of the private schools I wanted to go to, I'm not going to say the names, were blocking me because of what my dad was doing a lot at the time, because of the music he was making. There was a lot of big schools in Atlanta, the biggest that rejected me. They rejected a lot of celebrity kids. Carter then admitted that she kind of understood why she wasn't let in. I get it to a certain extent, but it's like, I'm a kid and that don't got nothing to do with me. You shouldn't judge me off of what my dad's got going on. A few months ago, Carter reflected on growing up around her father's many relationships. While speaking with Toei Ashanti for the Airtime podcast, Carter opened up about the women that Wayne dated over the years. I was telling my friend the other day how, like, I used to love Nivea. I begged for Niv to come to my party. Like, I used to dress like Nivea for my party. So, girl, I love Nivea. I love Trina. I love Solange. Yeah, he had a few. I love everybody, Carter added. So, of course, you can check out the actual show via that YouTube embed there in the article, which the link to will be in the description of this video, of course. But what do you think about, now I don't know if she has receipts of this. I don't know. She doesn't necessarily, I don't know if she has any proof. I feel like if she did, she would have presented said proof. I think she's just kind of going on her suspicion that the denials were because of Wayne and his music, which I guess is a reasonable assumption that you can make. But nevertheless, there's no factual evidence of that. But what do you make of what she said about her experience with being denied from entry to private schools?
I mean, I get it. I get it. You got to weigh the cost of doing such a thing if you're a private school, because you're a private school. You don't have to take anybody you don't want to. And I'm assuming that these schools just weigh the cost benefit of it. We got the child of a celebrity, and she said this happened with other celebrities. So if this has happened with other celebrities, it may not be necessarily because of the lyrics or the facial tattoos. It could just be a situation where they don't want that kind of commotion going on in their school, in these particular locations, because there are famous people who send their kids to private school like all the time. But if and Atlanta's a celebrity rich area, so I'm sure there was a lot of others that were trying this and getting denied because they just didn't want that kind of commotion in their facility. If you want to have your own version of, like the X-Men Academy, where it's all celebrity kids going there, that's one thing. But if they're blended in the population with others, it may deter actual learning and might cause a commotion with other parents. They probably tried this before with other celebrities. They saw that it didn't work. So the institutions have a right to deny. My thing is with, and it doesn't sound like she's complaining per se, but the relative trauma that people experience is very interesting. And to me, this is a situation where she was in a privileged position to even go to a private school. And I'm sure she was also in a privileged position to get homeschooled or do something like that, or use other avenues. She didn't have to necessarily do that. But she's recording this, and she may have just been speaking about it in a matter of fact kind of way, and it doesn't necessarily bother her. But for her to bring up that it was because of my dad and his alleged perception, that's why I got denied. The interpretation of that is why I go, man, that's, there's so many other ways to take that, So, I hope this is not something that bothers her or anybody else that may be in that position where they're in a privileged position and you can't do what other people are doing because of who you belong to. You have to be able to parse that out and say that, hey, the reason why I go on vacation 4 times a year is because of my dad is who he is or my mom is who they are. And so I would have to trade off one or the other, having a private chef or having my lights cut off and attending public school. I think they would rather have the private chef. But again, the relative trauma in people is real. People feel like they're being in an oppressed situation when they're really not. And that's a reality. And it just sounds like to me for her that this may be something that she's a little hung up on because she wasn't able to interact with her peers the way that she wanted to due to her father being who he is. But again, the only reason why, she's on podcasts and doing the things that she does is because of who her father is, who he is. So you got to be able to trade that off in your mind and be grateful for the position that you're at, regardless of how you feel like you missed out on everyday things. But what are your thoughts, man, on this Reginae Carter? I don't want to say airing grievances, but just highlighting the fact that she wasn't able to go to private schools because allegedly her father is who he is. What are your thoughts?
It's tough to really speak on it because, again, like, what proof does she have that she was being denied because of her dad's music? Like, unless you have some sort of an verified, unless there's a person there who can verify that, or unless she has any sort of proof, she's basically just going off of her own suspicion. And it's hard to say. In order for me to know for sure whether that's the case or not, I'd have to know whether there's other celebrity kids who are also going to those private schools, and you just so happen to be one of the only ones, if not the only one, who was excluded. Are there other celebrity kids there? Are there other celebrity musicians kids who are there? Like, how do you break it down so that you know for sure that this was happening specifically to you because of the nature of your dad's music? It's very hard to tell. But if I am going to entertain that notion and accept the premise that that is true, which again, I'm not necessarily copping to believing that that's true. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just saying, where's the paper trail on that? But if I am going to entertain the notion that that is true, part of me says I don't really see an issue with it. I don't see an issue with private institutions having certain standards rooted in morality and excluding or including students as a result of that. I kind of feel like they're entitled to that. Well, number one, they are entitled to it. They're a private institution; they can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. But are they entitled to it from the standpoint of how people would, feel some type of way about whether they are allowed it let in or not? I do. I think that that's okay. I think that there's room in our society for certain aspects of admittance to be judged based upon baseline levels of a moral compass, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I personally don't take issue with that. Now, I'm not saying everyone should be doing that. I'm not saying every private institution should be doing that or shouldn't be doing that. But I do think that there's room in our society for it. We've referenced often the woman who does OnlyFans. We did it on the channel here. We referenced this story that went viral down here in South Florida, of course, where there's a woman who's doing OnlyFans, and her OnlyFans is advertised on her car, and she was dropping her toddler child off to school, elementary school, and the school reprimanded her and told her that the nature of that content is not something that we abide by. So if you insist on dropping your kid off to school, you're going to have to remove that advertisement from your car. If you persist and you don't want to remove it, then we'll have to insist that you make other arrangements for your kid to be dropped off. Or if you still want to be the one dropping your kid off, you may have to park elsewhere and maybe escort your kid on the school grounds. But we don't want your sex worker business physically on school grounds. Now, mind you, I do believe that this was a public school where this story, I have to fact check myself on that, but I do believe that this story came from a mother dropping her kid off at public school. And this was something that came as a result of that. And I didn't feel any type of way about that. That didn't affront my sensibilities at all, because I just kind of feel like at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with maintaining some sort of morality when it comes to admittance in certain capacities. Again, it doesn't mean everybody has to do it. It doesn't even mean that most places should do it. But if some places want to do that, I don't feel some type of way about that. And to your point, I think you just got to chalk that up to the price of doing business. I mean, yeah, it may be difficult for you to enter into certain private schools from time to time, but is that the price? But is that worth the price to pay for living a very charmed life overall? I would say, yeah, it is. So you're just going to have to accept that. But moreover, I just don't really think that there's an issue with that reasonable level of morality being a part of decisions when it comes to admittance to certain things. I think we need more of it. But do I think that everyone should be doing it? No. Do I think that no one should be doing it? Also, no. So it's just one of those situations where, based upon the circumstances, I kind of don't feel that badly about it, or that she was done wrong somehow based upon what we've read there. I just kind of feel like it is what it is, and certain places want to make decisions the way that they want to make them. That's fine. Is OnlyFans commensurate with hip hop lyrics? Like, is it on the same level to where you would kind of judge both of those things in the same manner? That depends on your individual interpretation and how you see the music and how you see stuff like OnlyFans. For me, they're somewhat on the same wavelength. Maybe one might be a little more lacking in the morality department than the other, but I kind of think that they can approximate one another in terms of whether someone sitting at an admission table says, do we want to associate ourselves with this kind of content? Which, if what she's saying is true, was the question that was being asked when it was being decided whether she would be admitted or not. And now, again, I say all of this under the assumption that what she's saying is true, or just entertaining the idea that what she's saying is true, because we don't know factually whether it is or not. But I just kind of don't see an issue with morality being involved in some aspects of what we still do in the world, even if it is a private school. And again, it's a private school. So if they want to do things that way, they can. If what she's saying is correct, I don't really think it's that much of it doesn't really strike a chord with me as, oh my God, what an injustice.
Yeah, fair. And she may have heard, but so, like, for instance, anecdotal, used to work at Walmart back in the day, crushing it, and other team leads would be like, hey man, why don't you try to be a team lead, bro? Why don't you, bosses, please? At first I was like, whatever, man, I'm kicking it with the crew. I don't need to be doing that. But then they just kept insisting. So I was like, all right, man, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Forget it. I'll do it. And so I'm doing everything that it takes. I'm doing all the good stuff. And then it finally gets to, store manager, because one of the team leads was like, bro, I'm gonna just take you there myself so you can have a conversation. So they took me there as a team lead. So there was another dude that had, locks as well. And he recently cut his hair. And, he was just saying, oh, yeah, I was just tired of it, man, bosses, please. So then the store manager was like, he was straight up with me. He was like, look, man, you see XYZ over there? He takes this serious. He cut his hair for this. And I'm like, okay, where you getting at with that? He was like, see, he's willing to do something to get himself to the next level. So he didn't directly tell me that I have to cut my hair, but he was telling me that I need to cut my hair to get into the team lead, the whatever program that they have going on. And so I was like, oh, okay. All right. Thanks for the insight. So I left the office. That was between me and him. Wasn't on paper. I can't go to corporate and talk about this conversation that I had off the record, you know. So she may have heard through the wind or something like that, or caught drift of it after enough denials that it was like it has something to do with my dad, which is fair. You know, but at the same time, you know, and this is to me, and this is why I brought it up, as far as you got to be able to weigh what you got versus what you feel like you missed out on. A lot of young people, I mean, we was in the public school system, bro. That ain't it's nothing fun about that. you know yeah, when I was getting ready for school, and I was amped about PE. you know I was amped about old lady in third period. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait to get over there. That's what I was pumped about. So I feel as though there's a part of her that feels like she missed out on levels of socialization. She felt a little bit more isolated because she's the child of a celebrity, and the celebrity phenomenon really exploded in the 90s, 80s and 90s, where there's more celebrities than we can handle for the most part. And so in the 2000s, of course, it's only been extrapolating since. Later on, we're going to talk about influencers. There's so many people out there that are being known and have a name and notoriety, and those people have offspring, and those offspring have to deal with the consequences of their parents. And so this is a relatively new phenomenon. So these people now, like Lil Wayne kid, and now we're talking about Nas kids or whatever. But Lil Wayne daughter, she's at enough of an age to be on podcast telling her story. And when she's telling her story, you go, hey, I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry that you feel like you missed out on levels of socialization. But I'm also here to tell you that you ain't missed out on much, and that the things that you did have that in your life that were privilege, I think that outweighs the things that you feel like you missed socially. But then I could be wrong, So that's her life, and that's what she feel like she got going on. So much so that she feel like she got to bring it up on air. So I'm not trying to dismiss what she feel like she experienced, but I think people just need to take a step back in their life and look at the bigger picture. And so this goes beyond Lil Wayne's daughter and stuff like this. Goes to everybody that feels like they missed out on something. That FOMO that people got. Man, had I only did this instead of doing that, my life would be better. Do you know that? Or are you living in the best possible scenario? Take a step back, because there's people out here that really got it bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that what she needs to do here, again, she's not pounding the table and crying about it, but that subtle, I feel like I missed out on something because of my dad, that needs to be, you need to take a step back from that.
Yeah.
And then the verbiage would have came off differently, and then it wouldn't be such a conversation around it. It'd have been like, I have an understanding why that happened, instead of that's what happened to me. You understand? So,
well, she did say she gets it. She says she understands it, but she also said still, like, I shouldn't get knocked for anything that my dad has going on.
That part.
Yeah. But the whole thing with that is, again, like, yeah, it's the cost of doing business. You've lived a charmed life. So was that worth the price to pay for being able to live a charmed life? Of course, I'm going to say it was, because I don't live a charmed life, and I would have liked to have been able to live a charmed life. So, but I hear what you're saying, man. People want to be able to have everything, and good luck convincing humans nowadays that they can have everything and that they aren't missing out on much, because we're constantly in comparison mode.
Exactly.
Because we're constantly on our phones, and we constantly juxtapose our realities to the realities of other people. When there weren't phones and constant means of communication and visualization are going around to be able to do that on a very regular basis, I feel like mentally, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, we were much more balanced and reasonable in terms of being able to understand that we should be appreciative of the things that we've been given in life, respectively. But now, because we're addicted to these devices and 24/7, we're comparing ourselves, not just to people we know personally, but to people who don't even know that we exist. Good luck getting people to understand the value of being able to maintain that level of appreciation. It's just not going to happen. We've been hardwired to want everything at all times. And we've also been hardwired to complain when we don't get it. So she's a byproduct of the society and the world that she grew up in. So it isn't necessarily her fault. But I do think it's important for people to maintain perspective. Like, okay, you still lived a charmed life and you just didn't go to the public schools that you wanted to. I'm pretty sure she still went to public schools. But compare that to the person who's actually destitute. Like, it's a far cry from the reality that you were able to be privileged to live in. And I can say that as someone who himself is a far cry from others who are far worse off than me. And I didn't even have it nearly as well as she did. So we all need to maintain the right perspective. But these days, bro, everybody wants everything. And good luck trying to convince people otherwise. We'll continue to seek everything until we die. And we'll just die wishing we could have had more. And it's sad. it's seriously, it's a very sad, feudalistic way to live, but nonetheless, it's how I would say most of us live today. So, you can try to convince her that she needs to be more. And listen, again, I don't know that she doesn't appreciate the things that she has in life. Again, I'm not trying to speculate on that. She seems like a grounded enough person from what I've read and seen. So I'm not trying to throw stones at her. But at the same time, is she stricken with the disease of, if I had it my way, I'd have everything? I would say yes, she is. And that's no different than the rest of us.
Yeah, well said, man. So, hey, shout out to Miss Reginae. Shout out to Nas' daughter. I didn't know she was out here on the scene, so I'll check that out. And of course, man, shout out to Weezy F. And I think we all know what the F means nowadays. So shout out to Weezy, man. Oh man, crazy world, bro. Crazy world.
And now we have friend of the channel, Nick Cannon, who is talking about double standards that he has for rules with dating when it comes to his kids. So Nick Cannon is proudly, vocally upfront about the fact that he allows certain things when it comes to his son that he doesn't allow when it comes to his daughter, with respect to dating stuff. So I didn't even realize that the twins that he has with Mariah Carey, they're 15 years old. So time really flies, man. But Nick Cannon allows certain things with his son that he doesn't allow with his daughter. He is not ashamed to admit that. He is not ashamed to admit that there is a double standard. So this says Nick Cannon admits double standard in dating rules for his twins. Nick Cannon is being candid about his parenting style, especially when it comes to how differently he approaches dating for his teenage twins. During a recent interview with TMZ, Cannon revealed that he's comfortable with his 15-year-old son, Moroccan, exploring dating, even encouraging it. But when it comes to his daughter, Monroe, he admits the rules are much stricter. Cannon explained that his stance is rooted in concern, particularly when it comes to protecting his daughter. One of his biggest worries centers around safety. I'm jumping around here because I'm just going to play the video. At the same time, Cannon made it clear that he views dating differently for his son. He said he isn't concerned about issues like financial motives, noting that Moroccan comes from a well-established background. Despite his strict stance on Monroe, Cannon said he isn't completely closed off to the idea of her dating. Instead, he wants open communication and understanding before giving his approval. For now, though, Cannon isn't ready to allow one-on-one dates for his daughter, making it clear that he's still setting firm boundaries. Cannon added that his goal is to prepare Monroe for the future, especially as she approaches adulthood. So here's a friend of the channel, Mr. Cannon, talking about his double standards when it comes to his twin children dating.
My son been dating.
Oh, really?
And I've allowed it.
Why?
I've encouraged it.
Encouraged?
But
At
my
15?
daughter,
I hope you've been allowing it and encouraging that
no,
that too.
absolutely not.
That
Really?
makes no sense.
First of all,
sense.
it's absolutely a double standard.
I hope you know I'm going to be talking about this on the TV show.
You have to, because first of all, and I know I get in trouble a
Yes,
lot because I say
please.
things with my chest, but there is a difference when parenting a son and then when parenting a daughter.
And
I am,
26?
yes, because
Really?
I'm more protective of my daughter because there's things out there that I have to protect my daughter from. Like, as we know, there's certain type of individuals that you want to keep your daughter away from. My son, it's a different conversation when he's going out into the dating world.
You don't want. My dad's a football coach.
Right. And I know he loves his daughter in a way that if you call, my son is not calling me like, Dad, she hit me. He's not doing that. But if somebody puts their hands on my daughter,
Okay.
I'm going to jail.
That's
just like your daddy would.
That's one thing, but
Ain't no one thing. That's the only thing.
Okay, but for your son, you're not.
I'm
worried
doing
about,
25 to life if somebody put their hands on my
You're
daughter.
not worried about gold diggers for your son?
No, he got a whole lot of money. His mama's Mariah Carey.
Oh,
He's good.
So the only reason baby girls can't date, or you're more, is because there's a possibility that
If
scrub
some
is out
man
there.
puts his hands on my daughter,
a wrap.
it's my worst nightmare because I'm going to jail
So when can she
forever.
date? So when can she date?
When I
Wow. See, I'm glad I ain't got that.
no, because, and I know because she probably gonna see this. We made a deal.
Okay.
If she can explain to me what's gonna happen on these dates, then she can go.
What is she? How
What's
is she?
supposed to
That's
explain?
not a date.
That because first of all, it started off with crushes, and I was like, "What's
Okay,
a crush?"
yeah.
And then she explained it to me. She was like, "Dad, a crush is, she's like Michael B. Jordan or guys that I see like, that are actors or athletes. I kind of admire them from afar for whether their skill set or if they're handsome or what." I was like, all right, I can rock with a crush. Then she was like, "So when can I start dating?" I was like, "So what's gonna happen on these dates?"
We're going to know each other. We're going
Your
to-
twin brother can go with you.
Does she
y'all
have to
all
go with
can
him on
hang
the
out.
date? He can
Yeah,
go
I don't. That's fine too. But you ain't going one-on-one with no little bastard anywhere.
16. That's normal.
That's normal.
16?
I'm preparing her for college,
Okay.
and I know it's out of my control.
Yep.
I can't do nothing about it. Hopefully, we're having all these open conversations. My daughter tells me any and everything, and even though I'm apprehensive, like if you can explain it, if we have a conversation about it, I'm for it because I know when you get to college, I want you to have all the questions answered and whatever, and you make the best decision possible.
Right.
So I know that's around the corner. I don't need anything to happen before that. Like,
all right, so there you go. So there's Nick Cannon talking about the different rules for his son and his daughter, and there's the female host over there who was just, basically like, how can you do that? That's not right. That's not fair. So what did you make of that exchange and Cannon's approach there?
First of all, it was hilarious. I'm sitting here laughing the whole time. But hey, man, I'm sorry. That conundrum that he's in right now, that cognitive dissonance that he's experiencing right now, it's a byproduct of what I talk about often on here. Is that there's no rules or guidelines. There's no cultural standard to adhere to. There's no rites of passage. There's no system. It's a free-for-all. And so since it's a free-for-all, there's no moment that Nick Cannon feels comfortable allowing his daughter to be her own woman. And so 15 was, she got to have a crush conversation, bro. She was having crushes long before 15, sir. You know what I'm saying? And she been wanted to date long before 15, So you're dealing with this bowling ball of momentum that you're suppressing. She clearly sees her brother is doing his thing. He's not just going out on dates. He's doing his thing. All right. She sees that. And intuitively, some type of way she feels that because that's her twin brother. That's the elephant in the room. And you can feel him going through the various stages of, oh man, I'm in trouble. When he said that she got to go off to college. And he was like, well, all right, I already know what that. Yeah, you already know what time it is. And you putting the chastity belt on her now. I'm not saying to just let her do her thing. I'm just saying you putting the chastity belt on her now. We know how that go in college, freshman year.
Yes, we do.
All right, bro. It's as soon as the parents drive off, bro. Yeah. I swear to you, I'm not lying. And if anybody's been on a college campus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's literally after the parents leave. It is going down. So he knows that. He was in Drumline. All right, he know what it is. He know what it is. So he's experiencing all of these conflicting things, him trying to protect this little angel, you know, from the crazies in the world. And how do I release her into the wild? What's the best, systemic way that I could allow her to do this? And I also feel comfortable that you won't, because the system is flawed, in my opinion, because there is no rites of passage for every party involved to feel comfortable that she is now a woman. There is none of that. And since there is none of that, when is the proper time to let your daughter date, to let your son date? There's nothing down. There's no oral tradition to do so. So this cognitive dissonance that Nick Cannon is experiencing out loud is what a lot of male fathers go through. It's what everybody's going through for the most part in America. How do we keep our kids in line? How do we get them from not going out, before their time, before they're ready? There's no guidelines. And since there's no guidelines, there's no guidance, it is utter chaos. And you have to be comfortable with that chaos and try your best to instill some level of knowledge and information in your child, and some type of rites of passage system for yourself and for your family. So everybody within your family, if the world don't feel comfortable, you and your household feel comfortable that you are now mature enough to handle whatever comes your way. But nobody's doing that. Everybody's just free for all. So in result, you're going to get chaos, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on Sir Nick Cannon experiencing cognitive dissonance on stage live? All right, saying that, hey, my 15-year-old daughter is not going to be out here dating, but my son can go hog wild. What are your thoughts, bro?
I'm going to address your point first.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying. However, how could you possibly have a system of guidelines that are meant to properly nurture and bring along a girl into becoming a young woman, into being her own woman, when you've got so many other children by so many other women that I would imagine it's hard to keep track of that?
Yes,
like how, because we've talked about Nick Cannon before, and you and I have had debates about the validity of his chosen lifestyle, how much sense that makes in terms of rearing children specifically, and you've talked about how that chosen lifestyle, if handled with care and done responsibly, can be something that does make sense. Yes. And I've suggested to you, you may be giving Nick Cannon more credit. You may be giving Nick Cannon more credit than he deserves, because I don't think he was engaging in these antics for nation building. He was engaging in these antics because he just wanted to splack off with as many different women as possible.
I see that now. Yeah. I see that now.
So when you're not doing it specifically for the purposes of nation building, and everyone is on different pages because you, the man who's the connective tissue in this operation, isn't bringing all the houses together because you just want to have a good time, what you have as a result is not feeling like you are comfortable with your daughter's preparedness for life in this particular capacity. And how can he feel that way? How many other daughters does he have?
Right.
I didn't do the math, but he has several other daughters with several other women. And I'm pretty sure all of them are being raised independently.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So how in the world could he possibly have a good grasp on this particular one and what she's going to be going through? So it does not shock me one bit to see this level of apprehensiveness on his part, because he was not out here doing big love. He was out here just trying to get his rocks off.
I see.
All right. He was trying to do his best interpretation of that Young Money song, Every Girl in the World. That's what he was trying. That's what he was doing. And when you've chosen that, there are consequences on the back end, especially when you have daughters. So in this particular dynamic, he is going to reap what he sows, because, you can't just whimsically have children in the world and just feel like they're going to be okay when there's no system. And I hear you when it comes to our society at large being devoid of rules and guidelines and structure, but you can still maintain order within your own household.
Yeah.
But that's not possible when you yourself aren't careful enough to make sure that those guidelines are in place when you want to be all out here having all of these kids by all of these different mothers. It's not practical.
I agree.
It's not practical. Now, to speak on my general point about how I see this, even though I don't give him credit for being a nation builder, I do understand where he's coming from. And it goes back to a central premise that I harp on. We talked about it for the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to bring it up here again today. Men and women aren't the same. Men and women live different realities. And see, that host who was like, excuse me, that host, the woman host who was getting at him for this double standard, making it seem like he's being unreasonable because he allows his son to do this, but doesn't allow his daughter to do that. She is one of the many people in this world, especially women, who are walking around operating as though men and women are the same. They are living under this false pretense that there is somehow this weird equivocation between the reality of a man and the reality of a woman. We live fundamentally different realities. They are diametrically opposed. You cannot apply the same standard to a young boy that you do to a young woman. It doesn't make sense. We live different realities. We live different social constructs, different social norms, different sets of chromosomes, different gene pools. We live a different reality. There is a different way that people behaviorally react to a man versus a woman in society. You can't raise children as though everyone lives the same reality. You're doing a disservice to that kid by doing things that way. So we aren't the same. But a lot of people have been bamboozled into this weird belief that we are the same. We're not the same. We might be humans, but we are not the same. And it behooves every person to recognize that, and it behooves every parent to raise their children accordingly. I was not raised the same way as my sister. I couldn't have been. I don't live the same reality as her. My parents would never have given my sister a key at 7 years old and put her on the bus by herself and told her to walk home and let herself in. That is literally irresponsible. You can't do that. That's not responsible. And this was back in the 90s when things were a little more respectable. Like now we're living in bedlam. Things are all out of control.
I wouldn't even let my son do that at this point. Not nowadays.
Right. Things are way too crazy for stuff like that. So my point is, we are not the same. This false equivocation of men and women is problematic, in my opinion. It is creating a lot of weird false pretenses about what men and women should be entitled to and taught at different points of development, because there's this belief that we are all the same and everything. We're not the same. Everything is not supposed to be the same. It's not. If it was, then men could get pregnant and men would get asked out on dates and women would hold the door open and women would be proposing. We wouldn't be adhering to all of these various social norms if we were all the same. Yet, despite our best interest to create this false world, we still adhere to these social norms anyway. So which is it? Something's got to give, because you can't have both. So we're not the same. I don't blame him for being open and acknowledging that he does maintain double standards. I would do the same. I'm not raising my son and my daughter the exact same way. That's ridiculous. This is not fairy tale world. This is not some stupid Disney movie. Not everything is the same. All things aren't created equal. We live diametrically opposed realities. And the sooner people come to accept that, the sooner we can understand and be more appreciative of our respective differences, instead of just assuming that everything is supposed to be the same all the time. But other than that, when it comes to canon, yeah, he made his bed and he's going to have to lay in it, because he wanted to be Mr. Super Duper Rock Star lifestyle, might get wasted. Good luck with that, because he doesn't have. That's just the first one.
Right.
This 15-year-old, this is just the first one. He's got several other daughters behind her who are probably going to be dealing with the same thing. So I hope he has his wits about him, because he's in for a long ride.
Yeah, and to speak on giving him too much credit, yeah, I did, man. I'm not gonna sit here and cap out. Yeah, man. Because I was working on limited information. I'm seeing what the guy's doing. I'm seeing what he posts on social media. He didn't come off like an idiot. It came off like he knew things that I thought I knew. So I saw this as him moving in a way where he wanted to spread his seed in a way where it was constructive, not just some happenstance kind of fetish thing he had going on. Hindsight, right? And the Dr. Bryant interview was the revealing one for me. When he's sitting there confessing to her, letting her do some parlor trick on him to confess that, yeah, man, I was just out here splacking. So that's when all credibility was gone. I was like, okay, so he really is just out here doing whatever. And that comes with its consequences. So I still don't think he's a fool per se. But the way that he's going about this is a foolish way, in my opinion, in the sense that he's treating it like how I think a lot of people in this system treat it. Listen, man, it ain't easy, releasing your daughter to the wild. That's not an easy concept, and I totally understand that. And the reason why I preface, my opening thing with me saying that there needs to be systems in place, because that's what other societies did, man. Like, they had all this stuff figured out. We can call them primitive and we can call them whatever we want. They had it figured out. They didn't worry about that. Things were done, responsibilities were had at very young ages where they were forced to be mature. Granted, lifespan may have been shorter or whatever, but nevertheless, it was a situation that these kids can handle high levels of responsibility. Nowadays, kids are being atrophied from the public school system. They're being dragged. This education is being dragged out. It turns into a large daycare center until they're ready to hit the workforce. Mm-hmm. So these kids' developments are being arrested so they can turn into the proper drones later. And so part of the natural hormonal thing that I can speak for myself that I had going on in 6th, 7th grade, where I'm like, man, I'm ready to hit the field. Forget all this, bro. Like, let's go. Let's get this thing on the road. Like, I was there. So that natural hormone kick in other societies, they know that that's where the kick happens. So they got the people ready before that, with being responsible, being this, being that, taking care of other kids in the village, doing all of these things and getting ready for that natural curve that's going to hit. What ends up happening is people hit that thing, that natural curve, but they're being arrested. And they say, you got to wait until you're 18 and out of my house. So then you find Cinemax. Then you find LimeWire. And then you get yourself in this thing because that stuff is there and you can't ignore it. So the natural thing is, well, my son can do his thing like Nick Cannon. My son can do that because, you got to go out there and slay the dragon. So he got to learn how to go slay the dragon. But my daughter, no, pump the brakes on that. Okay, then you're going to have pastor's daughter. And we all know what that's about. So how do we grapple with this? This isn't some phenomenon that's new in the sense that people nowadays are starting to do this because of social media. No, this reached back in as far as we can think. And that natural curve was accounted for with rites of passage ceremonies and other types of things that prep these kids for manhood and womanhood. And we don't do that. We arrest these kids. So him sitting there trying to arrest his 15-year-old daughter, I know he's doing the best thing he can in the system that's provided here. But if he was as smart as I gave him credit for in the past, he would be aware of all of these dynamics instead of trying to do all of this stuff and what he's trying to do now. Yeah. Yes. Then he would have went about this in a different way. So you have to have your own systems in your house and your family. You have to have these open conversations and everything, leading up to these points to where it's like, hey, you've got the roadmap, you're responsible enough. You don't, the kitty glove's been taken off of you in the aspect of, you know how to do, pay bills, do this, do that, cut this, clean that, cook this, do that, male and female. Everybody is ready for life. You know what the consequences is for you playing too hard and all of these things. If you decide to come back with a kid and you 16 years old, you've been prepped for this. I told you everything to not be, coming back pregnant at 16. But if that tends to happen, you're ready. So everybody can at least feel somewhat comfortable in this chaotic system. So yeah, man. But I think that's the solution. Easier said than done, I'm sure. Yeah. But I think that this is the lane that people need to start thinking about instead of arresting your kids, because that creates the craziness, them sneaking behind your back and sneaking out of windows. And that's what you really don't want to hear. So, hey, man, it's a wild time, man, but you got to prepare yourself for it. And he had 15 years to get ready for it, and it's still catching him off guard.
Well, at this point, we are several generations removed from arrested people raising other arrested people. See, like these are generational curses. And I'm not projecting this. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, if it turns out that Nick Cannon's children have some sort of form of arrested development, it's because they were raised by two parents who themselves have a couple, if not several, of their own forms of arrested development. See, these are things that are passed down. So, various things like lack of rites of passages, lack of family rules, customs, and structure. These are things that they weren't privy to. Therefore, they don't have the wherewithal to pass them along to their children. Hence, you get the term generational curse, because without the knowledge, you can't actually impart it. So it takes a breaking of that by a special injunction point at some point in that family lineage of someone saying, I'm special enough and have the wherewithal enough to break the chains of this curse so that I can institute a new pathway for us moving forward. That is not something that happens easily. That's a special sort of inflection point that happens at different generational periods, depending on the family that you're talking about. Maybe it can be Cannon's kids who create that, but I'm telling you right now, you talk about arrested development, he himself, that's why he goes to therapy so much. He is dealing with his own form of arrested development. So why wouldn't his own children be dealing with the same thing?
I hear you.
Like, these are teachings that are passed down from one generation to the next. And it's why I was never buying this idea that what he was doing was calculated. I felt like he was just engaging in sexual irresponsibility. And you don't have to be a fool to be sexually undisciplined. Like, sex is a very, 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 very powerful force, obviously. So by no means am I trying to suggest that sexual irresponsibility or sexual responsibility is somehow an indicator of intelligence or brain power or IQ. The wisest, most brilliant, smartest people walking amongst us have a couple of sexual proclivities or two. So one is not a barometer for the next. And I do think that he's a smart human. He just so happens to be a smart human who's not sexually disciplined. And that's not, I'm not trying to knock him or criticize him for it. A lot of us are dealing with that. It just is what it is. But when that is your frame of reference, eventually you are going to reach a point where things come to a head with your own children. And so, he's going to have to deal with that, man, because there's more where that came from. And, him and Mariah Carey, they separated in 2014, which was 12 years ago. So if those twins are 15 years old now, they were already in a state of a broken home type setup when they were, what's the math on that? 3 years old? Yeah, 3 years. So, good luck. And there was no structure going on. It was just, they just broke up. And then the divorce happened. And now you're co-parenting to the best of your ability. Under no circumstance, in my opinion, is that the most ideal way to raise any kids. So there are going to be some natural unintended consequences as a result of that when you combine that with his own atrophy development in certain respects, I'm not shocked that this is what you get. He's at least aware and cares enough to know that he can't do things the same between the two kids. But in terms of, his approach of, I'm going to stymie my daughter from this particular department and hope that she can be responsible enough to have it figured out and make sound decisions when she goes to college. I think he might be in a rude awakening.
It's tough, dog. This is not easy, bro.
Take it as a guy who was in college and was with girls who were in college. That is easier said than done, sir.
Yeah, 100, bro. And that's what I'm saying. At some point, you gotta get, as the parent, you gotta be comfortable with the release, with going, hey, you gotta get comfortable there. And I know that's easier said than done, but clearly you got to do that, but yeah, man, like the things that went on out there. And that's when people go, oh snap, bro, you got a daughter, hey, good luck, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it all comes with it, man. So that's why, they're their own person, man, and you got to respect that, and you got to do your value installation, and you got to do your best on the value installation. And when it's time to take the training wheels off, man, you can't feel some type of way when literally they, face plant. Like that's part of them learning how to do this thing called life. So, do your best as far as giving them the guidance and giving them the game. But the last thing you need to do, I would say, is this situation here where, they're literally twins and you're letting one do one and one not the other. You don't know what kind of complex is getting built in. So it's not easy. I'm not telling this man what to do. It just sounds like the recipe for disaster later. So I'm hoping them the best, man. But, sheesh, that's all it is. Hope, man.
Yeah, I hope as well, man. Shouts out to Nick Cannon, friend of the channel, man. But, hard to maintain that kind of a structure when there are so many different mothers and so many different daughters and so many different locations at so many different ages and so many different periods of development. When you've chosen to do things that way, there's consequences that come as a result of that, man. So, I wish him the best of luck as well, because he is going to need it. And now we have Iron Man himself, Robert Downey Jr. This is the first time that Robert Downey Jr. has been a topic on this channel. So as a guy who is a nerd and a fan of the MCU, happy to have Robert Downey Jr. here on the channel for the first time. So, round of applause to Robert Downey Jr. for making his way on the conscious approach. But Robert Downey Jr. isn't really a fan of the of influencer culture. He kind of he kind of thinks that it's rubbish, it's BS, and he has concerns for its impact on the youth and some of the ways that the youth chooses to kind of chart a path for itself. So this says Robert Downey Jr. calls influencer culture absolute horse manure.
There you
go. Robert Downey Jr. isn't buying the idea that influencers are set to replace traditional stars, and he's making that clear in blunt terms. Speaking on Conversations for Our Daughters, the actor dismissed the narrative outright. When I hear people talk about, oh, the stars of the future are going to be influencers, I go, I don't know what world you're living in, but I think that is absolute horse crap. Downey Jr. pointed to how technology has reshaped fame, acknowledging that nowadays people can create celebrity without ever doing much besides rolling a phone on themselves. Still, he stopped short of calling that inherently negative. Instead, he framed it as a new challenge, saying the challenge for individualization is being upped, meaning standing out now requires more than just visibility. He also expressed concern about how quickly people, especially younger audiences, can get pulled into the attention economy. Recalling his own family, Downey Jr. said his 14-year-old son briefly got caught up in influencer culture. He kind of got caught up in this whole influencer thing. And the next thing you know, it's like, hey, if you like the way I'm playing this video game, do you want to send me a donation? He added, it becomes a religion before comparing parts of the space to the evangelical hucksters of the information age. Despite that critique, Downey Jr. emphasized he's not against the platform itself, but what it encourages. Hopefully, the grosser part of the youth is going to say, hey, but that's not my thing. I want to go do something. I'm going to make something. I want to build something. I want to educate myself. He also addressed his own approach to fame in the social media era, rejecting the idea of curated authenticity. People say, Robert, they just love it when you're just kind of like seeming off the cuff. But yeah, but I'd be manufacturing that aspect to them, so it's BS. Downey Jr.'s comments land as conversations about influence continue across industries. Recently, Jamila Jamil criticized Serena Williams over her promotion of GLP-1 weight loss drugs, warning these miracle weight loss drugs come at a price and urging followers to make sure you have access to proper health care. All right, so there's Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man, and his admonishment over influencer culture and some of what he perceives to be the negative ramifications of it. What say you about what Robert Downey Jr. said there?
Yeah, in a roundabout way, he's pretty much saying that it's lazy, you know, and you gotta do outrageous stuff that's outside of your character in order for people to donate to you. It's a weird panhandling profession. So I'm with him in the context that I do believe it's being oversold to these kids as something that they need to be. You know, what exactly is that? Who do you have to become in order to be one? Can you be authentically yourself and be this said influencer? I'm sure there's people out there that are, but the people that I see that have the millions of followers and doing all this other stuff, they seem to be the perfect combination of fake as hell. And I don't know if that's what people want to aspire to be. Everything's hot, everything tastes good, everything's this, everything's that, everything's a sell, everything's a pitch. There's no true identity anywhere. It's, I'll say whatever you want so long as you pay me. And I don't know what that does as far as wiring the brain. You know, we talk a lot about how you know, the sexual marketplace and how that's being normalized and how that could wire the brain in a way where basically you're just creating a whole bunch of sociopathic people. Mm-hmm. But the influencer realm is pretty much the same. I mean, the tone in which they speak is commercial, is fake. It's, you know, their presentation, how they live, everything's a put on. And so, you know, Robert Downey was saying, was like, you know, I could be this off the cuff type of person, but that would be performative, basically. That wouldn't be me being myself. Mm. And when you're stuck in this realm of always having to be performative, never being yourself, doing whatever it takes to get a sale, you're a salesman 24 hours a day. Imagine that guy that was a used car salesman who, you know, he's got the inflatable thing that's out there every day, and he's got that commercial, and he's, hey, come over here to Jack's, blah, 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 blah. Imagine if he's like that at dinner. Hey, these potatoes are great. Hey, try my mashed potatoes. Come on. Hey, turn it down, Frank. He can't. He's lost. He's lost in his own influencer sauce. So I think that will have natural bleed over ability into regular everyday life. It has to. You're doing it so much. So I do think that it's something that people need to be aware of. You know, just be mindful of what are these young people signing up for? And if you're a young person trying to be an influencer, what are you trying to sign up for? Like, is this what you really want for your life? But right now it's so trendy. It's such a thing. It's seen as an actual occupation.
Mm-hmm.
So, good luck telling people to turn this down when they're seeing people take, on yachts and catching flights. So all in all, I think that he has a point. I do think that it's a form of brain rot. And it kind of, wires the brain in a way where you don't want to build, you don't want to learn, you don't want to grow. You just want to sell the next product. And I don't know how that goes for a person being the best version of themselves. But what are your thoughts, man, on Robert Downey Jr. calling out influencers saying that it's a bunch of BS? What are your thoughts, bro?
I agree with you, and I agree with Robert Downey Jr. But I'm telling you right now, bro, we just sound like old people.
Yeah.
And Robert Downey Jr.'s comments will be interpreted as the whims of an old. His comments will be interpreted as the whims and complaints of an old man who is unwilling to adapt to modern times, because that's what people do whenever there's any sort of dissension towards things that are currently in the zeitgeist. You just get casted off as being old, and so you simply don't get it. It doesn't matter whether what you have to say is true or has any validity. If you're dissenting in any capacity, you're just old, and so no one should listen to you. Mm-hmm. And so those, his comments will just get interpreted that way, sadly, unfortunately. But I agree with you, and I agree with him. One of the reasons why, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why I hate OnlyFans as much as I do is because it doesn't take anything. Remember that scene in Jurassic Park where you may not remember this. I'm going way back.
I watched that movie back and forth, man.
Okay, so remember the scene from the original Jurassic Park, the first one, the best one, where they're sitting around the dinner table. And Jeff Goldblum's character, Ian Malcolm, he's like, I'll tell you the problem with what you're doing here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You stood on the shoulders of what geniuses did before you, and you copied what they did. And before you even stopped to ask whether it's something that you should be doing, you slapped the patent on it and you slapped the packaging on it. And now you're trying to sell it, right? So, I believe his exact words from that scene was, you stood on the shoulders of giants, I think is what he said. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons, now I hate OnlyFans, of course, this, I'm on the record, right? One of the reasons why I hate it is because the barrier to entry is low. You get to stand on the giants of the people who created this technology, but it requires no discipline or work on your part to be able to actually leverage it to become successful. All you have to do is exist. As long as you can exist as a woman, you can sort of work your way into living a charmed life that other people who are far smarter, more hardworking than you, but simply have less of a moral compass than you will ever have the privilege to be able to attain, because you were able to stand on the shoulders of these giants and leverage this technology for yourself. And so I just don't respect it. I don't respect it. I don't respect any of this kind. And so I put influencer networks in the same category. I don't respect them. I don't respect Instagram models. I don't respect social media models. I don't respect OnlyFans people, because you're not contributing anything to the world. You're not building anything. You're earning off of the sake of your mere existence. And because this attention economy is real, and there's so many people in the world who don't know their own inherent value and are so willing to throw money at these various machines, you get to profit off of this monstrosity of a dynamic. Now, I can accept that exists. I can accept that I'm going to have to live in a world where people don't have to work on anything, don't have to build anything, don't have to create anything and can just exist and make money. I can accept the existence of that, but what I don't have to do is respect it. I don't have to respect it, and I don't respect it. And I lump all of that stuff into the same bucket. One of the things that I always appreciated about what Kevin Samuels used to say was Kevin Samuels used to tell people on his show, women in particular, he used to make it very clear what a man of value was, because all women would do is talk about how they want a man who makes a lot of money. And what a lot of women would do is they would attribute a man's income to his relative level of value. And they would just make the blanket assumption that if a guy makes 6 figures or more per year or is rich, that he's automatically a high value man. And what Kevin Samuels used to say was, you're not a high value man just because of the income by itself. There are several other things that have to go into the equation. Entertainers, rappers, professional athletes, otherwise people who come into money very fast, tunnel vision wise, but didn't have to build anything, those men are not high value. The men who are high value are men who built this over the course of many years. They have a network of other men who they view as peers, who can vouch for what they built over several years. It was all of these various factors that went into the equation, which constituted at the end of the day what a high value man truly was. So a guy who's a financial advisor who runs his own practice and has been working at this thing for 15, 20 years, and he's now in his mid to late 40s or early 50s, and he's worked his way into being a 6-figure guy, that's high value. Not the person who hit the lottery or came into an inheritance or hopped onto the internet and cashed in on the attention economy. Those are not high value men. And what I at least take away from what Robert Downey Jr. is saying there is, you're hopping onto the internet and you're leveraging the technology created for you by the true innovators and geniuses of the world. You get to hop on their coattails, take advantage of this stuff, and live in this goofy world where people are willing to pay you to exist. But that is a fleeting, situation. It doesn't last forever. And if you're not building anything for yourself, creating for yourself, tangibly contributing to the world and society, I'm going to put you in a different bucket, in a different category. And I feel the same way. I don't respect it. You can call it what you want. Yeah, they may make a lot of money, but there's more to it than that. At least for me, it is. There's more to it. I respect the person who's building roads and bridges and makes $92,000 a year more than I respect clavicular. or any of these chicks on OnlyFans who aren't contributing to the world. They just exist in it. And they just so happen to be in a privileged position to be able to do that. So again, I can acknowledge it and live in a world in which it exists. It doesn't mean that I have to respect it. So I personally believe that this will not last. I do think that it is a fleeting prospect that does have an expiration date at some point. I find it quite miraculous that up to this point in human history, there's still a market for it. But then again, why should I be surprised? I find myself being increasingly desensitized towards being surprised by anything that happens in this world nowadays. But I do think eventually things are going to come to a head, and a lot of this stuff is going to revert back to the mean. Whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm not exactly sure, but it's going to happen because you can't keep this thing going for forever. Eventually, the rope-a-dope that is the attention economy will cease to exist. I believe that. And when that does happen, all these people who think that they can just hop onto it and cash in like this are going to have to figure out how to actually contribute to the world in order to make something of themselves.
Yeah, I think that the, kind of like Uber, Lyft, or stuff like that, where, DoorDash, where, when the app first got started or whatever, the floodgates was open. Everybody went rushing in. Everybody went making money. Then eventually the constraints happen, and people don't make as much money anymore. And then it really becomes supplemental income. And I think that this influencer market, the gates are open for pretty much anybody to be an influencer. And I think that will kind of always be a thing, but there will only be the elites at the top, which is kind of already happening.
Yeah.
There's only going to be these elites at the top that are the influencers. And let me make a clear distinction here, because influencer, it's a pretty broad word nowadays. If you, because he brought up the example of his son, you know, streaming online, playing video games and saying, hey, you know, give me money. You know, if you naturally like playing video games and you naturally like engaging with the people, I don't see, because there is a lane for that. There is a lane for people that like watching people play games and they like the kind of conversation that person has and they choose to donate. I don't have a problem with that. You're literally getting paid to do what you like to do anyway. Have fun with people online and play video games. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that's the problem, what I call the influencer thing. My problem is these people that talk like, come with me as I buy the hot fudge, whatever the hell, or their whole page is Target. They go here, they go. They're just a walking billboard. Like, what the hell are you doing? They can tell me they're getting paid. They can tell me they're doing all this other stuff, but they're basically sex workers for corporations. They just do whatever the bidding of the people say. They don't care. They don't. If you run up your own business and you try this product, you stand behind this product, you use this product a lot, and you decide to do an ad read on your own thing, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that's necessarily the influencer realm, even though some people may tag it that. I'm talking about the 100% individual person that is literally running around doing or saying anything for the advertisement, just for the clicks, the likes, the whatever, to just be an influencer. So for instance, your girl Brittany Renner, who was a fitness influencer, you know, she would literally go to the gym. I mean, she was already working out or whatever, I'm sure, but she's going to the gym to do her influencer thing, plug in stuff just to be plugging things, and she'll do anything. She did the whole Islam. She's doing the whole Islamic thing so she can sell hijabs. You know what I'm saying? Like, she does whatever it takes to get the stream of revenue. You can call this hustling. You can call this whatever. I call it. To me, it's a weird form of panhandling. And what young people are watching when they're seeing people that are putting in minimal effort, they're not building a platform of their own. They're not building a brand of their own. Their brand is that I sell other brands. That's the problem that I have.
I feel you, but at the same time, a person who is gaming and is making a name for themselves online for gaming, they're not okay. So let's say you have a gamer who is big on Twitch, and what's the other one, Kick or whatever those platforms are that's popular for video gaming. Like, this person is not, they're not garnering that fan base because they exist in the world. Like, for example, if you were to do that, you wouldn't be as successful of an influencer as you are simply because you exist as a man and nothing other than that. Correct. So Robert Downey Jr.'s son playing video games, he's not getting any, he's not getting ahead in life off the sake of his existence. Not in the same way that a chick who's on OnlyFans does. Because the only reason why that's even a possibility is because you exist as a woman. So there's nothing that you're tangibly contributing. I mean, if I wanted to make the case that I follow a video game influencer because I want to know how to be able to tackle this particular game or whatever with this, there's a tangible benefit that I get from doing that via consuming that content. Like, I can't necessarily say that it's the same thing with some influencer that just does things performatively. I don't see them the exact same way.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So let's say you do play video games and you play the game that you like, and you just having conversations that you like having. I don't have a problem with that. And if people choose to donate to you, so be it. But it's the people that's gatekeeping for these large video gaming companies claiming that the game is fire when it's absolute dog water.
Right.
And so like there's people out there that had to switch their position on certain games like Call of Duty's, like the newest Call of Duty or whatever. And you know, they couldn't, they were having this cognitive dissonance themselves of this game is so trash online while streaming trying to play it, but they got paid to do it. So they got paid to influence their followers to say that Call of Duty is fire when they were sitting clearly laughing at the game. So some people actually broke character and I'm like, bro, this game's trash. This game's trash. And it's just like, nah, but you got to get that check. You see what I'm saying? It's the tap dancing. It's you doing and saying whatever it takes. I don't care if I stand behind this. I'm gonna just sell this to the people that I claim that are my people. You know, it's that notion of being an influence. It's basically being a walking human billboard. There's no personality set to that. That's what I'm saying. So if somebody built their own platform on YouTube like we do, but we decide to sell something that we branded like our brand, like if we're selling merch later, which is on the way, and people decide to buy that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we built it off the back of YouTube. I'm just using an example. We built it on the back of YouTube, which is somebody else's platform, but we're building something here, and we only sell what we stand behind. Right. And if there's the product that I use, and I say, hey man, go use that. You know, whether, you know, it's whatever. And later on I get an endorsement for it. It's like, well, I already use that. And I'm already saying that it's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with people selling merch online. I have a problem with people selling themselves out to sell merch. They're doing anything it takes to do that. That influence, that tier of people, that's what people need to be aware of. And that's the people that I'm calling out. And I know that you're mentioning the, you know, your angle, but that's what I'm talking about. Well.
I feel that. I disagree with. I mean, I agree with all of that. I do, but I think what Robert Downey Jr. is talking about specifically is the idea of trying to ride the wave of the attention marketplace. So what he's talking about is young people essentially being socially conditioned, trained to ride the wave of the attention marketplace and not even consider actually leveraging their own God-given abilities or talents or figuring out tangible ways to contribute to the world. Because why should I even bother to learn? Why do I care about becoming an engineer? Why do I care about getting into the medical field? Why should I care about building bridges? Why should I care about paving roads? Why should I care about any of those things that actually help move humanity forward when I can just copy what everybody else is doing and be a goofy person on the internet and make money that way? Like that's what I think he's referring to. Just the infrastructure, the industrial complex that is the attention marketplace in general. But not that what you were saying was wrong, because I do agree with all of that. And there are certainly different levels of quote unquote influencing, but I think it's the mindset and the approach to what that looks like in general, which is, you know, there's young people walking around now who just want to be internet famous. They're not thinking about education. They're not thinking about learning a trade. They're not thinking about learning anything.
Correct.
They're just like, let me be internet famous because this guy did it and that guy did it. Look at how cool that person's lifestyle is. Let me try and ride this wave and copy that formula. Let me stand on the shoulders of giants and try to replicate that for myself. And first of all, it's not sustainable. And again, like the few who are able to make it through that screening, that's not going to be the vast majority of people who fail in the process of trying to achieve that. And when you've tried for many, many years and failed over and over again, and now it's time for you to pivot and actually do something that means something, you can't, because you don't know nothing, because you didn't learn nothing. So, you know, good luck. But I think it's a form of social conditioning. I do. And I think it all is wrapped up in what you were describing, plus what he's talking about. The attention economy in general, to me, is a cesspool of how to try to become a success story without actually working to become a success story. That's how I largely see it. Are there some people who have been able to get in there and create something and build something and become a success story. Yeah, but the vast majority of it is just people who are lazy, entitled, and want to try to figure out how to circumvent everything so that they can make it to the top without actually working to earn their way towards making it to the top.
I agree. So yeah, man. Shout out to I don't know anybody. Shout out to Robert Downey Jr. Man. For keeping it a Honda. But yeah, man, I don't think this is a boomer take, and I do think this is something that is an underlying thing that we may not be very much aware of because we're older, but younger people are thinking that they can just literally turn on the camera and face it to them and get donations. And it's just like, look, bro, there's life. Like, you have to provide something. You can't just sit there and be, oh, this is my vlog of me walking around my crusty ass apartment. It's like, nobody cares about your crusty apartment.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, provide a service.
Yeah.
And what we're doing here at the Conscious Approach, by the way. Yeah, man. It ain't that. I'll tell you that much. Hey, check the catalog, baby. We ain't playing around.
The only people, not the only, but the people who are able to do that and to just become successful for existing is women. I don't like it. Again, I don't respect it, but I acknowledge that because of the way that this world is constructed, they are able to do that. Again, do I respect it? No, I don't like it, but it is what it is. But the majority of this is just people who are trying to replicate formulas and be lazy and circumvent life. Like, that's what influencing, to me, that's what influencing in the attention economy is how can I circumvent life? And I see it all the time, bro. I tell you, I go to the gym. It's like every girl walks in there with a tripod. So all y'all think y'all gonna be fitness influencers? It's only but so much of that to go around. But tell them that. You can't convince them of that. All they see so many of these girls getting off online by posting pics of themselves at the gym and videos and looking the way they look. And so they're just gonna try and copy it. Some will make it, most of them won't, but try to convince them that that's a foolish journey. They ain't gonna listen.
Yeah, man. So hey, shout out to Robert Downey Jr., man, and shout out to everybody out there that's building it from the ground up, man. So yeah, that y'all are real MVPs.
Yeah, shouts out to Tony Stark, man. And now we have Ice Spice. Ice Spice is giving new meaning to industry plant, man, if I ever seen one.
Unbelievable, bro.
But for anyone who has not seen this, about a week ago, a video went viral where Ice Spice gets into a fight with some girl at a McDonald's in Los Angeles. This did go viral. It even made it into the mainstream. I'm watching the NBA playoff games, and those guys on inside the NBA, Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny Smith, they even brought it up. They even showed the video on national television during the post game of one of the playoff games.
They showed the video?
They did. Yeah, they showed the video.
Oh my God, bro. Goodness gracious.
And so after this whole debacle where Ice Spice got into a fight at this McDonald's, she now has a deal to promote Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich. Hey man, listen, we just got off a topic talking about the attention economy and the influencer network. See Exhibit A right here. But this says Ice Spice gets spicy in new Wendy's ad following viral McDonald's fight. Ice Spice has been tapped up to star in a new Wendy's ad just weeks after her viral fight in a McDonald's restaurant. During the incident, which took place in LA and saw the rapper get into a scuffle with a woman named Via, she declared that she preferred Wendy's over McDonald's. Soon after, she shared an X post claiming a showdown wouldn't happen at Wendy's. The popular burger chain heard Ice Spice loud and clear and booked the 26-year-old to star in a new commercial promoting its new chicken sandwich. I heard Wendy's upgraded their OG chicken sandwich, new spicy, including new spicy. Ice Spice says in the ad before she's shown in a series of spicy scenes including one where she gets a neck tattoo that reads "Ice Spicy." She then wakes up from her daydream to grab a Frosty. During the McDonald's incident, Ice Spice was swung on while sitting down having a meal with a friend. While some alleged the fight was staged, Ice's lawyer stated the attack was reported to LAPD. The attacker, Vaya, alleged that Ice rudely declined to let her sit with her and a friend at McDonald's, which caused an argument and a volatile reaction from the LA resident. She said, "I'm from New York. Let me tell you something. You're in LA, you're in my city now, and you can't be out here disrespecting people. If you want us to leave, you could just have said politely, I'm not in the mood." Last year, Ice Spice revealed on former talk show, The Kelly Clarkson Show, that Wendy's was one of her previous jobs before she became an artist. "There would be really annoying workers and characters, but I would low-key appreciate them, but like low-key though."
Well said, Ice Spice.
All right, so here are these this commercial where she's promoting this spicy chicken sandwich at Wendy's.
I heard Wendy's upgraded their OG spicy chicken sandwich. New spicy, new spicy, new spicy, new spicy, new spicy, new spicy, new spicy. 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 Next. Spicy. Order for Ice Spice. What? You forgot your Frosty. New upgraded spicy chicken, only at Wendy's. Spicy. Spice, recognize spice.
All right.
Oh, brother.
All right. Floor is yours, man.
Look, hey, bro, this is where we at, bro. How we get here? Hey, look, man. The inside the NBA piece, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
That just adds to this ridiculousness. When I saw this article, I said, of course it's obvious, like, of course, but there's also no way, like, they're really doing this. When I saw the first one, I was like, oh, this is clearly a McDonald's. This is some clear, like, McDonald's promotion thing. Like, why do I care that Ice Spice was eating at McDonald's and somebody wanted to? The confrontation is, I'm from New York. Like, what is this? So I was like, and it was on every news outlet. Like, it matters. So I was like, this is clearly some type of McDonald's ad. So all of a sudden, just a couple weeks later, the whole campaign's rolled out for the Ice Spicy chicken sandwich. Yeah, in TV world, it works that fast, but in real life, you actually have to have like this stuff mapped out. Like, I don't think this happened in the drop of a dime, and they whipped all this up and came out with a chicken sandwich or whatever. Like, I don't think this happened that fast. I don't think this happened organically. And what this to me is showing me that outside of her being an industry plant and just doing whatever, this is a situation where it's like a cross-pollination advertising scheme. I think that these fast food chains, I don't know who owns them. You can tell me they're different people. They're all in cahoots. I think their whole thing is we just need people to eat these burgers. We need people to keep eating fast food, period. And I think that they're a band of thieves that are saying, hey, we don't care. Yeah, we're competitors, but all of this social awareness and social consciousness stuff where people are worried about their health, worried about how much we're charging them, worried if this even 3D printed meat. We're all in the same boat, guys. So, You know what I'm saying? It's a little give and take type of thing, whatever. And if there's some cross pollination, well, whatever. So that whole thing that we covered last month or so, where that CEO for McDonald's was, you know what I'm saying, grimacing, eating his own burger. And then all the other ones came involved and making an ad off that ad, you know, throwing shade. And that's in every public outlet. So now Ice Spice comes out with this thing. And this is in every public outlet after the McDonald's fiascos in every public outlet. Like it matters. So the fact that they even reached inside the NBA and they played the video, and I'm sure they mentioned McDonald's in there, that this is all part of some weird marketing scheme. That's not the typical marketing scheme where they just roll out a commercial. There's this element that they're adding of, we also got to go viral. Because it can land on stuff like the conscious approach. And my thing here, and the last thing I said before I let you go, and my thing is, and the reason why I brought this up was to mention that we need to be aware of current marketing schemes, because we still think we're in the times of just regular endorsements, straight up run an ad, run a campaign, you know, billboard, magazine, you know, you name it, website or whatever, and that's it, you know, standard commercial, and that's it. Now they're doing more, they're getting more creative with it, and they're throwing stimuli out there in the waters for social media to consume it, do think pieces about it, create content off of it, and XYZ. Are we making content out of it? Sure enough. But the reason why I'm doing it is not because, oh, Ice Spice is throwing shade at McDonald's and her attackers. No, it's like, y'all got to be aware of how they trying to play everybody like the fool. And I think that this is some type of elaborate marketing ploy. And it's this, to me, it's disgusting. But what are your thoughts, man, on Ice Spice getting attacked at McDonald's? A few or a couple weeks later, or whatever it was, here she is in a brand new Wendy's commercial, because Wendy's I would never get attacked at Wendy's. What are your thoughts, man?
So if I'm Wendy's and I catch wind of a video where a celebrity gets on social media and says, this would never happen to me at Wendy's, I'm probably going to reach out to that person to, you know, strike some sort of an endorsement deal because they're talking about my product. So, you know, I understand the logic behind Wendy's reaching out to her for something like this. However, you know, the fact that she was at McDonald's, got into this fight, said this wouldn't happen at Wendy's, and then started doing Wendy's commercials. It just seems like the whole thing was orchestrated. The fight was orchestrated. The whole thing was orchestrated on the part of the deal with Wendy's. This is more of a Wendy's thing than a McDonald's thing in terms of the fact that the whole thing was put together. Now, here's the thing. Whether that's true or not isn't the point. The point is I can't tell the difference. And that's the unfortunate part. The part that bothers me is I no longer know what's real and what's fake anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And that should concern everybody. So my default position with this thing is that it was all an elaborate guerrilla marketing scheme.
I think so.
The fight wasn't real. Okay, so it just so happened to happen in a McDonald's. And then she says, oh, okay, I can't, this wouldn't happen at Wendy's. No, this is part of an elaborate scheme to make sense of this thing. But otherwise, this was something that was orchestrated. And then, you know, leading immediately in the aftermath of this, she's showing up in a Wendy's commercial. No, this was already a predetermined Wendy's deal. That's what I believe. But even if you don't believe that, and you believe that she actually got into a fight for real, and it just so happens that she talked about Wendy's, and it just so happened that Wendy's reached out to her after seeing she talked about it after this fight that you believe is legitimate, even if you buy into the idea that that is true, the problem with this is someone on my end who believes that it was all make-believe can make just as equally powerful of a case that it was a put on. And so we all need to be concerned with the fact that there's no such thing apparently as like legitimate square business when it comes to advertising. We don't know what's a deception, nor do we know what's legitimate. I don't know if what she got into was an actual fight, nor do I know if what she got into was something that was an elaborate part of an elaborate scheme that was supposed to sort of propagate this advertising deal. I don't know what's real and what's fake anymore. What am I supposed to trust anymore? Like, you can't trust anything. You don't know what's real and you don't know what's fake. I'm not okay with that. I used to always know when something was being sold to me as an ad. Now you're trying to sell me that this was a legitimate fight in a public place, but I'm also supposed to accept that, well, she just so happened to be able to capitalize off of that legitimate fight via this deal with Wendy's. How am I going to buy that?
It's very convenient, bro.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Like, and so that's my whole thing with this is what is fake and what's real. The line is completely blurred, and I don't like that. Because what I'm not going to do is accept that everything is real. I'd rather not accept that everything is fake, but to safeguard myself against being duped, I am now left to default to the position that everything is fake, just so that I don't fall for the okie doke. So there could be legitimate things going on in the world. I'm not going to believe it because of crap like this. And I'm 100%, and I don't think that this was real. And another thing, the last thing that I'll say, I looked this up because I thought I recalled seeing this. Speaking of this inside the NBA thing, because they did, I was watching, I forget what game it was, but I was watching the post game the night where they talked about this and they were making a joke out of it. And I could have sworn I remembered seeing the McDonald's logo on the set of Inside the NBA the night that they were talking about this. And so I did some digging into it, and my recollection was correct.
Okay.
That night that they brought this up to talk about it, they were McDonald's is a sponsor of Inside the NBA. That's no secret. But the day that they were talking about, the night that they were talking about this, they actually had the McDonald's logo on the set itself.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean,
she got two checks.
Yeah. This is completely, all of this is fishy to me. And if you want to believe that it was legitimate, fine. And if you want to believe that it was all fake, also fine. My problem is the specter around it, I'm uncomfortable with, because I think people deserve to know when something is real and when something is fake. And right now, these corporations are just running roughshod on us, basically doing whatever they want and not telling. There's no disclaimer. We don't know if it's real or not. They're just selling us stuff as reality so that they can, continue to sell whatever, product that they want to sell. And I feel like at the end of the day, the general public deserves the right to know when something is fake and when something is, when something is a part of a fake, elaborate advertising scheme and when something is legitimate. But right now, we don't know the difference. We're none the wiser. And I hate that. I can't stand it. I believe this whole thing was an orchestrated act. I don't think that was a legitimate fight. I'm not buying it. And I'm given no other option but to default to the position that it was fake and that everything else that I see is fake, because I am no longer being told when it's real anymore. And that to me is a problem.
Well, and when you're dealing with corporations and you're dealing with marketing, I mean, this is an evolving thing. And like I said, like the traditional forms of media, the traditional forms of advertising, they're taking new approaches. They feel as though they have to evolve with the things that people are doing now. And what people love now is messiness. They love, they got videos on them free websites where they're getting it on in Popeyes. Wearing the Popeyes logo, wearing the Burger King logo, that was paid for. You think you just go do that? No, they got paid to do that. They would snatch that off these platforms. We don't want that stuff associated with. They don't care because they know people over there. These people, they're not playing fair no more. This ain't about straight up and down. This is about whatever's going to get us going. This is what's going to get people in our stores. Our bottom line increase. And we're going to meet everybody where they at. And they think simpletons love Ice Spice. Everybody loves Ice Spice. Let's get her in on it. And she'll do any damn thing. Yeah, sure enough. Okay, they did the proposal. I get a check from McDonald's and Wendy. So she's all about it. You know what I'm saying? So when they show this video of her, it's not just a still shot of her face like this here. They show the whole thing. Every part of her curvature. You even see the gap. And they make sure you can see all of that. They're selling sex too on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just Ice Spice. It's like, nah, let's sell her. And she don't care. She normally would have to turn around to get a check. You know, so the only thing she got to do is hold a chicken sandwich. She all about it. So this is what I'm saying. To me, the Inside the NBA thing is really telling. Because when I saw it on TMZ and I'm just doing regular TikTok scrolls and I'm seeing this, whatever, or I'm looking for articles and stuff for the show, and it's everywhere. It's like, why do people care about Ice Spice getting into a spat? It wasn't even a real fight. A spat at McDonald's, unless it's paid for by McDonald's. Then they bring it up on an NBA thing, and then you said on the set on the same day it was brought to you by McDonald's, which in and of itself is fine. But then for them to coincidentally have this queued up, no, that's two checks. That's cross-pollination. And the only reason why I feel like they cross-pollinating is because, again, I think that these things, these corporations are realizing that, hey, we're better together, fighting this together. We've done studies. People that eat at McDonald's also eats at Wendy's. You know, this stuff that drives this. So the whole days of, hey guys, let's just have a regular campaign are over. They're attacking in different aspects now. And I think that this is a prime example. I don't think this is happenstance. You know what I'm saying? I'll leave that up there. You know what I'm saying? You know, things could just play out that way. I always reserve a little bit, but I'm in the majority of thinking that this is a completely orchestrated thing where there's cross-pollination going on and she got two checks. And I'm not going for it. So y'all can have y'all spicy chicken sandwich. I will not be partaking.
I definitely think that it was an elaborate scheme. And the thing is, it's easy, like I said before, it's easy to assume that any corporation would look at that kind of a situation opportunistically and say, oh, Ice Spice mentioned us on Twitter. Let's hit her up because she's real popular with the youth. Like, of course, yes, that's why that was my initial statement. That's a logical, it's a logical conclusion to make, right? You know, she mentioned us, she's popular, let's hit her up. The part that I'm looking at is the fact that the fight took place in the first place, because the fight was the catalyst for her saying that.
Yes.
So the fight is the catalyst for her going on Twitter and saying this wouldn't happen at Wendy's. Now she's in a Wendy's commercial. I am compelled at that point to believe that fight was then orchestrated to set that up for that commercial to make sense.
I mean, even the streets were calling it out before the Wendy's commercial, and they had to say that, no, we filed a police report. Who gives a damn?
And by the way, like a police report can't be a part of the rule. Like you act like you can't fake a fight and then go to the police and file a police report as a result. Like, come on, man. Like, that's not that hard to do.
Exactly.
So again, man, like, my problem with this, because I hear everything that you're saying and I agree, like, people are actively being like deceived on a level that to me hits different than it used to. Like, stuff is actively being orchestrated and faked just to get people in the position to be purchasers of something. And there once was a time when you knew the difference between what's real and what's fake. You know, there was a clear line of demarcation between reality and fantasy world. And now it's all been amalgamated. Fantasy world and reality world is the same thing. And so now everyday people just don't know what's real and what's fake anymore. It's the same thing with journalism too. Like, we're in a space with things being reported on credible news sites journalistically, and it's not even real. They're not real stories.
Or something that's supposed to be from it is like AI. Like they gave it like an AI.
Yeah.
It's like, why are y'all reposting AI? Like,
Yeah.
why y'all doing it?
Yeah. So, it's just what is credible anymore? And that's the thing. What do these words even mean? I used to have a firm understanding of what words like credible and marketing and legitimate. I used to have concrete understandings of these terms. I no longer do. I don't know what is credible and what isn't, what is legitimate, what isn't, what's real, what's fake, what's marketing, what's actually something that happened for real. Like I don't know. Like you could watch MTV VH1 and you would know that those reality TV shows were orchestrated because those shows had writers. So, okay, you broke the fourth wall at this point. I can watch this for the purposes of entertainment. Sure, you're selling me on it being real, but I know you guys have writers. I know you guys are scripting all of this. No different than WWE. Right. Like, oh yeah, you're selling me that they're actually conflict, right? Like the WWE is selling the consumer on they actually got beef. There's actually conflict. They're actually in there squabbling and fighting. But we know that there's a writer's room and there's people writing storylines and the results of matches are predetermined. Okay, well, you've broken the fourth wall. I can now understand the line of demarcation between what's real and what's fake in that particular context. But when it comes to stuff like this internet stuff, this social media stuff, these weirdo celebrities, quote unquote influencers, like none of it is being sold as, I don't know, like we don't know where the writer's room is or isn't. We don't know if it's a real fight or is not. Is this an elaborate scheme or is not? People just don't know what's real and what's fake anymore. And that to me is crazy. It's just chaos. It's chaos, all for the sake of making money. Yes. Because at the end of the day, as long as the bag is made, who gives a rip what the consequences are?
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say, bro. The bottom line is what you can read. The bottom line is what I look at. Because I go, who benefits from this? Like realistically, why do I need to know that Ice Spice had a scrimmage in McDonald's? Who benefits from that? And because if it was one isolated incident, there's stuff that I think that should be viral. It doesn't go viral. It's not being carried everywhere. But then there's stuff out there. It's literally everywhere. Yahoo, People magazine. Like, why y'all covering? Why y'all covering this? Like, don't y'all got bigger fish to fry? Nah, we got the check to cover this. So all in all, man, yeah, man, I trust the bottom line. I trust who benefits. And to me, by following the paper trail, I can then come to a conclusion that I feel comfortable with, that I can put money on, if I was forced to gamble on it. And if I was forced to gamble on this, I'm taking it over that this is fake. So,
hey, listen, man, I don't like any of this. I'll say, shouts out to everybody who doesn't fall for this garbage and understands that there's an attempt at hand to dupe all of us, and just don't let it work, man. Because this to me is wild business. This to me is nasty work, bro. Nasty work. Amen. They really want you to believe that she got into a fight.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Just to sell a chicken sandwich.
The Ice Spicy. Last up, we discussed Finesse 2 Times, who learned via AI, specifically ChatGPT, that he was in a 360 record deal. Sucks for this guy, man. We talk about the some of the business dynamics of the music industry from time to time. And you've mentioned often the problems with 360 deals and essentially the fact that you're selling your soul away as a result of signing into such a thing. Well, Finesse 2 Times recently signed a deal and learned via ChatGPT that his deal was beneficial to the label and not to him. He found out that he was in a 360 deal with via AI, which is crazy. So understanding the business is a key part of the music industry, especially if you want to avoid getting screwed over. Unfortunately for Finesse 2 Times, he had to learn this the hard way. The rapper recently jumped on Instagram where he called out Jay Prince Jr.'s mob ties and Atlantic Records for trapping him into a predatory recording contract. Although admitting that he had a lawyer review the paperwork, he recently put the recording contract into ChatGPT. The results left him astonished. Finesse is basically locked into a 360 deal, meaning that the label has the rights to his name and likeness. They profit from anything involving him. ChatGPT basically explained that it's a one-sided contract that unfairly benefits Mob Ties and Atlantic Records more than it does him. The old man told me don't get a lawyer, he said, referring to Jay Prince, though later admitting his issues are primarily with his son, Jay Prince Jr. ChatGPT explained that his advance in benefits, including jewelry and luxury accommodations like private jets, can be used against him in court if he wants to negotiate. What's worse is that any attempt to walk away can trigger legal action against Finesse 2 Times or recoupment claims for those expenses. ChatGPT also explained that he can't escape from the assignment clause, which would allow the label to transfer the contract to another label at any time. In the post, Finesse expressed his disappointment with Jay Prince Jr. and the situation at large because he placed his trust in them. Yeah. Y'all think this stuff funny, but it's not. I moved off loyalty. I thought it was an honor to have Jay Prince, the old man, be my manager. Y'all told me I didn't need a lawyer because all they do is F over people. Well, it looks to me y'all worse than lawyers, he wrote before pleading for assistance. I'm asking as a man, can somebody please help buy me out this situation before I crash out and do something that's going to get me a life sentence, because the way I'm going is guaranteed I'm not going to die in the process. It's going to be an uphill battle for Finesse 2 Times. However, it appears that he's not keeping his foot off the gas. This weekend, he released his new project, F the Labels, which is basically a YouTube playlist of previously unreleased music. Let us know your thoughts on the Finesse 2 Times situation in the comment section below. So another rapper bites the dust with signing one of these ridiculous record deals where essentially you have no rights. And he actually learned this via using AI, which is kind of funny, but also kind of depressing. So what do you make of Mr. Finesse 2 Times? They're learning that he is landlocked in a bad record deal from submitting the deal into AI.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to be comfortable with being the sacrifice here for future generations of rappers that are signing these deals, that are dealing with lawyers. Yeah, man, you're one. Hey, let me get a PDF of this. You're one of those away from having an AI read your entire contract and tell you what this thing's really about. Because yeah, the lawyers they're in on it. Most of the time, they're the one that provides you the lawyer because they know you from the street. You know, loyalty is everything. Come on, man. Come on, bro. We can't do this no more, man. We gotta stop. And Finesse, he comes from that. So that's why I'm saying he has to be the sacrifice for the people that's up underneath him in age and all the other stuff that, you know, he's still coming from that era where we're upholding these street things. And we talked about it on here before, man. Like these street codes, nobody listens to them. And so you're dealing with Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr., who have this association with following things off the street code. And clearly they're doing things the label way, which is not street at all. It's gangster for sure, but it's not street. Yeah. So Finesse, he's going to have to be comfortable with this finesse. And he's going to have to be, I don't know how you get out of these things, but the accent as a man, I'm asking somebody to buy me out of that. Ain't what men do, bro. You know, you're going to have to find a way to buy your way out of this with like after they've shaved off everything off the top. I don't know what ratio or percentage that you got to recoup in order to get out of it, to pay yourself out of this, but don't use their private jets. Don't do all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm on a PJ, you know, I got a Lambo. And it's like, okay, well, according to this contract, bro, they're going to use all of that against you. So they're going to say, hey, they used our private jet this many times. They did. So you can't even flex how you want to flex. You just got to get out of this. Last thing I'll say is that Money Man, when he signed with Cash Money, which I was disappointed that he did that at the time, he thought that he can leverage Cash Money into making him, you know, get radio play and stuff like that. He had one song on the radio, but it still wasn't a situation where he basically couldn't collab with Drake. He still couldn't do stuff that he thought he would be able to by signing with Baby. So a little bit of time had passed, not too much time. He read the writing on the wall and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy my way out of this. So he literally bought himself out of the contract so he can go back to being independent. It's the first and only time I've heard a situation like that ever. And if you're in these positions where you're signing these deals, because Money Man had already something that he was bringing to the table. So Finesse, for the most part, I don't know what his situation was leading up to him doing this Jay Prince thing, but he had a big enough name and a big enough buzz around him for him to have something to bring to the table where he can buy himself out of it, at least not this year or next year or something like that, if he put his ducks in the right row. But to me, it sounds like he was depending too much on this deal. He thought that advance or whatever they gave him was all good and all sweet, which again, I don't know where he's been the last 10 years, you know, but here he is right now, you know, feeling like he got, and he sure enough did. But this whole move of putting it in ChatGPT, I know that there's other young people that are now going to go, well, I don't need to rely on the lawyer that they gave me. I can use ChatGPT or any other model. Please provide a PDF that I'll be signing, and then I'll get back to you tomorrow type of thing. I think that's the better way to go, you know, instead of doing it retroactively. But what are your thoughts, man, on Finesse 2 Times getting finessed by Jay Prince and them with a 360 deal?
Yeah. Yeah. Ironic that his name is Finesse 2 Times, because he certainly did get finessed. That's for sure.
Yes.
And the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was, man, AI is going to replace attorneys too.
Yeah,
like that's crazy, because essentially, you know, the ChatGPT reviewed that entire contract and basically told him that it wasn't in his best interest, which I think an independent third-party attorney who's not involved in that situation may have been impartial enough to tell him. Because I agree with you. I think that if it's a lawyer provided by the label, I think the lawyer is going to be biased towards, at the very least, finding a mutually beneficial situation, something that serves both the artist and the label. But if push come to shove, the lawyer issued by the label is going to find ways to ensure that the label is taken care of first and then the artist second. So if you are going to go the attorney route, it has to be someone who's not involved at all with either with the label or preferably the music industry. Like, it needs to be somebody who's not even in that ecosystem, I would say, in order for there to be a fair evaluation of whether this thing is going to work out in your best interest. But yeah, like the fact that ChatGPT was able to do what that attorney would have done is pretty funny. You bring up an interesting point. Perhaps this is the blueprint for what's going to happen in the future, with artists being able to independently verify that they aren't getting screwed over. I think that would be great, because that's going to minimize overhead, because you're not going to have to pay an attorney to do that. So that's a good thing. But I just think at the end of the day, people need representation. And so where he went wrong was standing on business and trusting that he didn't need a lawyer. Whoever told him that he doesn't need legal representation, those people need to be fired. So I don't know if these are people who work for him, or if these were people who were just around the situation who were advising him. If these are people who work for him, they need to be fired. And if these are people who were advising him, who are just around the situation, he needs to never listen to those people ever again. You don't walk into a situation like this without legal representation. That is foolish. I don't care how much street code you want to uphold. How much is that street code worth now when he's crying about getting out of this deal?
Right.
So it was foolish for him to enter into these negotiations without the legal consultation. That to me was stupid. And I don't believe that he's not smart enough to have at least wondered whether it was smart to do that or not. But he erred on the side of what he thought at the time was his better judgment, and decided that he wouldn't do it because he was going to put his faith in Jay Prince and Jay Prince Jr. Listen, man, all y'all artists out there, I don't know what to tell you, man. Have legal representation. Now, it should be someone who is independent of the situation. It should be someone who's independent of the negotiation. Don't hire an attorney who is coming in at the behest of the party that you're negotiating against, because they are going to serve the interest of the people that they sent, of the people who sent them. In my opinion, it should be independent legal counsel, preferably somebody who is well versed in the law and at least tangibly well versed in entertainment law, but someone who is not a part of the music industry or the entertainment industry, because at that point you know that you're going to get as impartial an evaluation as possible. But this idea of going into a situation with no lawyer, no legal representation, is his cardinal sin, and that's where he went wrong. I hate to see that it played. I don't like the fact that it played out this way, because I don't like labor being exploited by the machine, by the outfit, by the institution, by the employer. But at the end of the day, this is what happens as a result of this. I don't think those codes of the street are going to make sure that you're covered when the label is taking the majority off the top, when you're, releasing your albums, or when you're performing on tour, or when you're making all the money that you're making via your live shows. The codes of the streets are not going to care very much or do very much about the fact that you're dealing with that, and that's become your reality. So cautionary tale that maybe next time he won't listen when someone tells him not to get a lawyer.
Yeah, man. And that boy Super Hot Fire, that he does those things where he's acting like he in a rap battle, and he's saying just like off the wall, like stuff that doesn't really. He's like, I wake up, I take a nap. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? So he had this whole meme thing going on where he would do that, and everybody likes Super Hot Fire. So he said that Comedy Central had reached out to him, and they was trying to work something out with him, do whatever. He was excited about it. So they sent him a contract, and they also provided him a lawyer. So the lawyer saying one thing, Comedy Central saying another thing, but none of it felt right. So he read like the first whatever bits of the article, but the contract, access either his lawyer or Comedy Central about it, because the verbiage was basically a 360 deal where they're just gonna say, hey, you can't call yourself Super Hot Fire no more. That's our name. Whatever you make content or whatever, that's money we're gonna be making. And blah 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 blah. So basically, it was a 360 deal. So he was like, yeah, no. And the lawyer, of course, is doubling down and supporting whatever Comedy said. Oh yeah, man, it's not that bad, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. So he didn't do it. So we never saw him on Comedy Central. So some people can look at him and say, oh yeah, you could say that or whatever. It's like, no, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. I believe that's why we never saw him on Comedy Central. And some people are so desperate to be on Comedy Central in this example that they'll do it. They think that they weigh their own cost benefit analysis and go, but if I'm on, I'm going to get all this money. Everybody going to know my name. I'm going to get money here. I'm going to get money there. Yeah, but they're taking damn near all of it off the top. So, but some people are they want to be famous more than they actually want the money that they do it. So there's only a degree of sorry you can feel for Finesse in this situation, because we're in 2026, bro. The narrative is out there. They talk about this in the streets too, bro. This is not new stuff. So whether you sign with a black label, whether you sign with Atlantic, or you do anything else, man, like this is what the music industry is, and you should know this by now. That like, there's only so sorry I can feel for you in this. But the takeaway here, that what you have done for the streets, Finesse, okay, is that you showed these people that you can just upload this to ChatGPT and then go, yeah, bro, you got. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the takeaway here, man. Finesse has been on a tear lately on TikTok and other things with him going live and him being a meme himself. And it's sad to hear that all of that money that would have been going to him is now going to Jay Prince and him. that is very unfortunate. But when they own your image and likeness, they damn near own your account, so they're getting all whatever you would have been getting off these views and all this other stuff. So yeah, bro, you in a bad spot. So can you get out of it? I don't know if you can, man. It's like the worst payday advance loan that you can possibly get. Worse than student loans, worse than a mortgage. Them 360 deals got. So I'm hoping the best for him, man, but it doesn't look too good.
I mean, even if you don't want to hire a lawyer because you don't trust them, you can read it yourself. You know?
Not Finesse too tough.
Well, hey man, something's got to give, man. Something's got to happen. You can't be unwilling to read it yourself and also say, I don't care, I don't want no lawyer. I'm gonna just stand on business and trust you. That's great.
I'm about loyalty.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think that it's a fantastic use case for the future of like contract evaluations. So that angle of it, I do find interesting. If this is, I would imagine that's going to be something that people do more and more. I would do it. Yes. But you know, at the same time, even in 2026, legal representation can prevent bad things from happening to you 100%. if it's the right legal representation. And so you can't just summarily dismiss that. And I think that he made a mistake in doing that. So we'll see, man. But another one bites the dust when it comes to these weird record deals, that's for sure. All right, everybody, we are done. JV Wins Doggone SS, another fantastic stream in the books. Download the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at ConApproach, CONAPPROACH, and I am also on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Folks, be a group thinker, have a mind of your own. Don't think for your. Be a group thinker, have a mind of your own, and think for yourself. Do not fall for these traps with these celebrities and these Wendy's commercials. And don't try to circumvent life by becoming an influencer. Actually try to contribute something to the world. You'll be all the better for it, man. But until next time, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching any of our other videos. And we'll see you next time.
And the name is Doggone SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Doggone_SS, on YouTube, MySpace, Meta, Twitter. Hey, man, if there's a social media platform, Doggone_SS is also out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow, and all that good jazz. And as JV Wynn said, man, we greatly appreciate y'all for watching, liking, sharing the video. All right, consciously leaving those comments. Hit that bell notification, bro, because we do this every week, man. All right. And as I always say, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it pure. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next week, ladies and gentlemen, still got more rings than Robert Ory. And we'll see y'all on the next episode.
That's how we do it. We'll holler at y'all next time. Thank you very much for watching. We are out. Peace.
Go Kings, man. Yeah, it's early.